Hello there, and welcome to another edition of the B&B Show. I've got my man Brendan Nelson back in the house with me. Seahawks Brendan Nelson here on YouTube, if you are not aware, but you should be. Brendan, it's great to have you back in the house once again, getting to celebrate another victory on a season full of victories.
Yeah, it's been a very special season, and it's great to be here once again. Great to be here talking about yet another win. We've had 13 of them. That doesn't happen very often. That's a rare thing. This team has done it twice, and we've never had 14. So we got one game left, and there's a lot on the line here.
There is, and certainly it does not get the stakes bigger this upcoming week. And then also against a rivalry, we've got two parts here of this game today. We're going to be talking about a little bit of this prior Panther game, but also diving into this Niner game and how we can solve the San Francisco team like we finally found a solution for the Rams a couple of weeks ago. From the high level view of things, as you know, I like to ask you about what was your view coming out of this game, kind of as the main notable items.
I think just the defensive dominance at display here, especially with the passing defense being as impossibly dominant as it was. That's not something you're supposed to ever really see in the NFL. I think the Panthers averaged like 1.5 yards per dropback that didn't end in a Bryce Young scramble. They had 40 net yards passing total. And the thing to understand is this is not Max Brosmer. This is not this isn't even like a Cam Ward situation. This is a playoff team we probably played on Sunday. That Panthers team that we played, they're probably going to the playoffs. In fact, I think at this point they probably got like 80% odds to do so. And we treated them the same way Alabama treats a team like Troy, the same way they treat a team like Tennessee Chattanooga. So it does really remind you how dominant this team can be in that area, and why I've spent some time talking this year about how this defense stacks up to the 2013 defense probably better than a lot of people remember. So really special stuff going on there. That's definitely the main thing to take away. And also the other thing that I really want to hammer here, because I've talked about this a lot, the running game starting to really find a foothold here, even though it's mostly explosives. I will admit that right now. It's mostly explosives that we've got. The success rate of this team running the ball has not radically changed this year, but the explosives have actually made us a top 10 running team over the last month and a half or so. And one thing that I've hammered all year long is I don't know if the explosive passing attack with JSN is sustainable in the playoffs, but an effective rushing attack would be sustainable. And I think that's what we've been trying to build to all year. And looking at a game like what we had on Sunday against Carolina, and I know Carolina's not that good, I know, but I do think that it showed that this team is playing more playoff style football now. And while it's not as fun, I do think it's good. And I do think it's better than leaning on big plays to JSN all game. So I actually like the direction of this offense.
I think you're capturing pretty accurately the trend with the rushing attack and the explosives throughout even this back half of the schedule. I did feel like in this game particularly, so that's been very much a true on the back half, but I felt like in this game particularly, there was more of the consistency on getting the yards in the running game that weren't explosives, that were just simply those 3-yard runs at times in a cloud of dust that have sometimes been missing from this offense, to the tune of it being a negative play, no gain, half yard. That's been how it's been held up. And to me, I'd be interested to hear if your outlook of this is the same, but that was really the big contributing factor to allowing you to be 9 of 16 on third downs in this game and get that success where that has been a bit of an issue for this offense throughout the year.
Right. I think that had to happen because, believe me, you mentioned the third down thing. I noticed this team was having a lot of offensive success, even though they were not very good on third down. And that was another thing. I was like, is this sustainable? Because it's the exact same thing we did with Russell Wilson. And to a certain extent, it's what happened when we had Geno Smith. We had good offenses, but we weren't good on third down. And that was very unconventional. You look at the teams in this league that typically are very good on third down. They're also typically the teams that are good overall offensively.
Yeah.
So I would love to see something like that, because a lot of those offenses, those Russell Wilson teams, I'm talking about the later era Russell Wilson Seahawks teams, you got to the playoffs and it wasn't always great. At the very least, it wasn't dependable. You didn't know what you were going to get from week to week because of that third down element. So seeing something like that, I know Carolina's not a great team, but I'm going to say it again. They are a playoff team, almost certainly, I think. So understand that these things, they're not as fun as throwing 60-yard passes to JSN every week. I know people miss the big shots down the field. I do too. But I think this is actually more sustainable.
I do agree. I absolutely do agree. I think just to flip it back over the defense here, part of what I loved about what the defense did beyond just the bottom line result, which was awesome, of course, but I did like as well that I felt like they were trying to take away the things that Carolina does offensively, and that it's not an intricate offense. It's one that has those three different kind of like a drum set, like a 3-beat drum set a little bit to me, Brendan, where it's, or forgery when you put the running game into effect. But when it comes to the passing attack specifically, it's throws to the flat, try to take a deep shot, or Bryce Young, you go scramble and go make a play happen. And it's sort of those three things to me, and watching the tape leading up to this game, they're kind of going between one to the other. They're going to bang one of those drums or the other. And it felt like today, and that a couple days ago in the game, Seattle worked to try to take specifically those things out of that Panther offense. And I felt like that's just where then the Panthers didn't have a fifth drum beat that they could go to at that point. They just kept trying to the other things they'd tried throughout the year, and Seattle had that stuff really clogged up.
Yeah, it was kind of again, it feels like you don't ever really see things like that in the NFL, where a team is that stymied offensively. I'm going to say it again, 40 yards net passing. 40 yards. That's crazy. And they were saying after the game that I guess Tet McMillan was sick or something, and that's part of the problem. I don't know if that's true or not. He certainly didn't look like himself. He's a very good player. He's had a very nice rookie year. I do think that there may have been something going on there beyond just his own abilities. But this is a very notable thing to me, because I want to stress again, Carolina had their starters out there. I think they had every starter except for Bryce Young. I believe that Bryce Young was the only starter. I'm sorry, Rob Hunt. I don't know why I said Bryce Young. Yeah, Rob Hunt was their only starter that I think was out. So that was their offense, and they couldn't move the ball at all. So I know that Carolina offense is a little bit remedial, because they really only have the one dependable target, which is Tet McMillan. Like Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette, and even Tavion Sanders went down on the first play. There isn't a lot they can do, but still, man, this is still an NFL offense, man. So when I look at that, it makes me feel like this defense stacks up very well with the 2013 Legion of Boom.
I believe they do. I think that's definitely an all-time NFL defense, so maybe not able to quite get to the place of that, but I think that they certainly deserve to be talked about in a similar kind of fashion in camp, from how dominant they've shown they can be at times in how they run it. And I just want to add one other layer to this with the defense, that it was talked about specifically by Carolina. I know Canales mentioned this, and I do believe Teterow and McMillan might have mentioned this as well, that though he had the sickness, what I think Seattle did defensively, on top of taking away the things the Panthers wanted to do in this game, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they might have played more man coverage in this game than they played throughout all of the season. And because of that, and this is going to be an important part, both of these 2 points I'm kind of leading up to on this Panther game, when we do push this forward to the Niner game, because these are the two elements that I really do hope Mike can try to bring into play this week. You're trying to anticipate game plans from the Niners. They do play things pretty similarly to how they want to roll their offense, taking away the things that the team wants to do as kind of the forefront, which is kind of a no-duh, but willing to run a little bit more of the man-based cover concepts too. As I look at this Niner team being a team, Kittle can get free in man-to-man coverage. Maybe your linebackers, you run more zone, but on the outside of the corners with their receiver matchups, I'd like to see more of that carry over into this week, especially considering the success you had with it. How about you?
I like it. I like the man coverage idea, because the man coverage is something that you do theoretically where you kind of don't respect the other team's receiver's ability to get open, right? You don't think that they're going to be able, yeah, you feel like your guys can keep up. And I do look at this Niners team, and I know they found their way this year, but without Brandon Ayuk, that receiver core does not intimidate me very much at all. And I'm going to stand by that even after the impressive season they've had. I think that you can man up against these guys. And this is one of the luxuries that McDonald has right now. He has two corners that are very good in man, Woolen and Witherspoon. We don't play a lot of man, but those guys can do it. In fact, I think we both argued that Woolen is more of a man corner than a zone corner. And Witherspoon, I think, played more man than zone when he was in college. So why not? Why not?
Why not? And it was a big part of this game, and you definitely, I think, caught Carolina off guard on the back of that. Where, as far as the confidence in Sam as we go into this game and go into the playoffs, where do you find yourself at versus where that confidence has been at throughout the course of this year when maybe it was at its height, when it was at the high of heights? Has it been knocked off the path a bit here, just a little bit, or is it about, hey, no, same level of confidence I've had in him throughout?
You're talking about Darnold specifically or just the team in general?
Sam Darnold specifically.
I mean, obviously he was playing better earlier this year, right? But like I said earlier in the show, I kind of thought to myself, I don't know how sustainable what he's doing early in the season is, because a lot of it was dependent on play action. A lot of it was dependent on throwing up trust balls to JSN, and he'd go up and make a miraculous play. It did occur to me that this Seattle team is kind of sort of finding ways to produce elite offense that I don't know are going to be there in January, because you're playing better defenses, but also because the weather gets worse, and also because teams just kind of start to figure stuff out. Like, I think that the teams we play have learned you don't want to go man on man against JSN. Like, that's why some of the production is dried up for JSN. I think these teams have realized, hey, we got to play zone against this guy. If you go man up on JSN, he's going to get open and he's going to beat you. So I did kind of find myself thinking, this is not going to work that well the deeper we get. And it is true that Darnold is playing worse, but I think the style of this offense is probably a little bit more built for postseason success. So while I will concede that my confidence in Darnold isn't quite what it was before, I don't think it's really affected my confidence level in this team, if that makes sense.
It does. Absolutely. Just keep spinning this around into some different parts of this game that are being talked about by the fan base, and just kind of see where your thoughts are with this. My outlook on, and I went back and watched the 22 tape today to kind of get some confirmation here a little bit, but I'd love to hear your outlook on it as well. Is that, there's a little bit of this thing with Zach Charbonnet as a general narrative out there that he's more decisive, and that Walker's, too indecisive. And I think just Charbonnet had his greatest, we're saying this as a comparison to me a little bit of Charbonnet coming off his best game as a pro in 3 years. And my thinking on this has been throughout the years that these running backs do not get equivalent run blocking in their carries over the course of a game, because of the high fluctuating nature, because there being so many whiffs at times on tape in the run blocking game. There was a snap today I was watching with Walker where Zabel had to land a block and just completely whiff the block at the point of impact. The guy's living in the backfield the second Walker gets the carry. I've seen so many of those kind of reps at times. But is your feeling that Walker's turning down this stuff, or that he's being indecisive, or that's where Charbonnet is the better back here, from how it's being talked about in the fan base a little bit?
I mean, are we going to just forget that K9 had maybe the best game of his career a week ago? Like, that's the thing. Like, I understand that Charbonnet was great on Sunday, and he was certainly better than Walker, but you go back to 10 days before, that might have been Walker's best game. So, my point of view is I appreciate having both guys right now. Yeah, some days one guy isn't going to have it. Some days things aren't going to be there for one guy, but then you got the other guy, and they're both really good. I think they're literally 2 top 5 running backs in the league by Pro Football Focus. And some days it's going to be one guy's turn, and another day it's going to be another guy's turn. I'm cool with that. So yeah. I don't know why everybody's in such a big hurry to pick one guy over the other. Now, if I were to pick one guy over the other, I would probably say that I do think Walker's a little bit better overall, but people are correct. Charbonnet probably is more decisive. Charbonnet is better at pass protection, although he hasn't been great at that this year. Charbonnet is better overall on passing downs in general, I think. But Walker's better in some areas too. He's faster. He's more elusive. There are strengths and weaknesses to both guys. I don't think we need to make this a war between the two where only one guy is left standing at the end. I think we got to look at it more like, hey, we got both guys. They both have strengths and weaknesses. Let's use both, and let's be grateful that we have both guys.
Agreed. That's my outlook on it as well. I think it's very rare teams have two backs like this they can really legitimately rely upon, not just going to the number two and going, okay, we got to get by on the number two until we get back to number one. You know, Amir Abdullah comes in for Taylor and with the Colts. You don't feel anywhere near as much the dangers you do when he's out there. Back around your point. Is there anything else out of this Panther game that you thought worthy of discussion or something that you wanted to cover?
Not really specifically related to the game itself. We're on the road. We're playing a playoff team. We couldn't buy a call in that first half, really, maybe even the first 35 minutes or so, and still win by 3 touchdowns. Like, I don't see how anybody could be upset about that. So I'm pretty happy with that. I will happily take a second half team. Like everyone's saying, we're a second half team. We're a second half team. I'd probably rather be a second half team than a first half team, if we're being honest. So I can live with that.
Yeah, I can live with it too. And boy, yeah, the officiating, only the Colts game this year in that first half is the only game I can think of this year that really stands out to me where I'm just going, what is the officiating doing here? And to have so many calls that are just going up against you. I rewatched the Mike Jackson, by the way, tackle on Shaheed out of bounds again today with the 22. Mm-hmm. My God, he's 1.5 yards out of bounds and he's still swinging him around like he's, so many calls in that first half where you're just like, what are we doing here? This is ridiculous. But they didn't carry through the whole game, luckily, I guess.
It seems like Mike was a little amped up for that one, which surprised me a little bit. I guess he feels like we did him wrong or something, if you listen to the comments before and after the game, which...
Jesus, these players sometimes, man. I know, they're so sensitive, Brendan. Just like, get over it. Like, they didn't do you dirty. You had no place to start in what was going to be a contract year for you. You had no pathway to having any playing time. They moved you to a team where now you are going to be a starter. You can't realize that that's what this is the poll. That's the thing with him. It's like he acts like they did him somehow dirty, like he had an injury and they cut him with the injury and then that's going to be the end of his career. Like, that's not how this worked. We moved you to a team where you were going to get an opportunity. That was as much the driving force there rather than you sitting on a bench in a scheme that didn't fit your skill set. I mean, even on the interception, you see him get against Sam Darnold in this game. What do you see him do on that play? He's 15 yards off coverage and then dropping to depth. I said last week, he's a cover 3 corner. That's not what you're going to do in this system, having guys 15 yards off and then dropping to complete depth every time. So it's kind of just, sometimes these players get a little bit too, to me, sensitive with this stuff on the, being somehow done horribly wronged or something. It's like, you're a fine player for us, but you weren't going to be a fit to the new system.
Yeah, I think sometimes these players make it up to motivate themselves. Like that was a thing with I remember reading about Michael Jordan. He would make up slights in his mind that people made against him that they didn't make just to push him a little bit more during the game. Like he convinced himself that Tony Kukoc was disrespecting him by playing for Croatia in the Olympics against him, when, of course, that's ridiculous. Of course, you're going to play for your national team if you get a chance. But, it's how he motivated himself. I respect that. I don't know if I have a lot of respect for the way in which Jackson expressed himself with some of that frustration on the field on Sunday, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's a little overstated. And you watch that tackle out of bounds, you have to wonder if that's you're doing a dirty hit to a guy because you think an organization did you dirty. Okay. Then they didn't. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. Got it. Well, let's push this forward because I think that this is where a lot of people are going to want to see this discussion at today, Brendan, and trying to go kind of end to end here on the San Francisco 49ers. We now take up. We've got them right here in the crosshairs. Saturday game. Kind of feel like it. I'm actually kind of liking the Saturday game from a couple different standpoints. Let's first hear where you're at with it. First off, I like it because you got the Niners coming off late Sunday night game they had to take to the nth degree, to the last moment of the game. A lot of plays in that game. Then you got to come around on the short week and play back on Saturday for them. I like that part of it. I like the part of it too of that you get the first round bye, get a little extra rest. If you have to play the next week, you get the extra day of rest then for leading into at that point the first round of the playoffs if it does go the wrong way there. How do you feel about that?
I kind of like it too for the reasons that you're talking about. If you find a way to get through this game, which, by the way, I mean, there is an argument to be made that you're the road team, so having the short week is a little bit of a disadvantage. But you're right. If we can get through this game and win, or yeah, technically, even if we lose, it does come back and help you a little bit the next week. So I'm pretty good with it. It's a night game anyway. Everybody's going to be watching it. It's not like I know I referred to the Sunday night game as like the hammer, the big money shot for the week, but realistically, people are still going to be able to see the Saturday night game too, right? It's not going to be that radically different in terms of how many eyes are on you. And yeah, so we haven't had an injury report yet. I think the first one comes out today. But you want to go through like the injuries that we got and the Niners got, and we'll talk about what we expect to happen real quick.
Yeah, if you can you kick it up and start it real quick? I'm gonna be right back. 2 seconds, okay? So
Okay.
Just start up and give him a little bit of a prep on it, and I'll be right back.
All right. So here's what I'm thinking, and this is just speculation for me because we don't have any definite information yet. So Seattle, we've got Cody White. He's almost definitely out. I don't think there's any way Cody White plays. They've already kind of said he's going to miss some time. So no Cody White. I'm thinking Shaheed is almost certainly out as well. Concussions usually make a player miss one game. I think that a concussion sustained 6 days before a game, very, very unlikely he clears protocol to make it back. So I'm thinking no Shaheed. Kobe Bryant, I would say probably not. I'm thinking Kobe Bryant's probably out. And Charles Cross feels like a coin flip to me. If I had to pick, I'd say no, though. So that's my read. Welcome back. So all I said was all I did was run through Cody White, almost definitely out. You would agree?
Yeah, he's IR today.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't see that yet, but yeah, he's definitely out. Shaheed, I doubt he makes it back. I think that's very unlikely. I think he's out. Concussion 6 days before the game. There's no way.
Probably not.
Kobe Bryant, I'm going to say more likely no than yes, but I think it's possible. And Charles Cross feels like a coin flip to me, but I feel like the answer is no, but it's kind of a coin flip in my mind.
Yeah, I think with Cross and Bryant, there's a little bit of just keep them into the playoffs thing. Here's what'll be ruling out if they're on the line. Why not just do that? Josh Jones has played solidly for you at left tackle. He gives you some of the run blocking element in this game, especially to me. It's like if it's Bosa's out there, you feel differently. No Bosa, no real desperate threat out there from the pass rushing side of it from the Niners' perspective. So I think you just kind of go, okay, well, we can roll with Josh again, let Cross get fully back to health, especially get that bye. Now you got that extra week for him to fully get healthy. Same thing with Kobe. I think Tyakata has filled in really well for Kobe since he's been in there. And I think, we're going to have a really good conversation this offseason about that guy, maybe potentially being a guy that we can feel like we can rock with next year to fill in for Kobe if he does go via free agency, that there's not going to be as much of a drive at this point to have to go get a guy in the draft to get that situation, kind of rectified. But, certainly, I think that the Niners are in the tougher position here, Brendan, when you look at their injury front, don't you?
Right.
I mean, it's down the line.
They're talking about Kittle, and I know they said they expect Kittle to play, but the word is his ankle was so swollen on Sunday they couldn't even test it. So do you really think George Kittle is going from ankle so swollen they can't even test it on Sunday to playing in a game on Saturday? Do you really think that's a good idea?
Well, it's one where if I'm Shanahan, quite honestly, I'm kind of pulled in a couple different directions here because on the front of it, no, I don't want to play him because I want to have, it's like what I think McVay's doing with the Rams right now. You saw last night with Larrick Jackson, a couple guys he held out. There was almost a soft acknowledgement here of I'll be willing to lose maybe this game or two to make sure that my team is best prepared for the playoffs. And if that's the case, you look at the Niners here and you go, okay, do you want to be best prepared for the playoffs considering the deck is already lightened with the injuries that guys are not coming back? And so a guy like Kittle becomes a very important piece for you if you really want to make that playoff noise, or potentially have him re-injure it, blow it out. He hurts the ankle in this game. Now you're coming back in your first game with no Kittle, no Warner, no Bosa. Few playmakers to really, attack. I feel like if I'm in Shanahan's predicament on that and it's close, that I would be on the line of wanting to rest him, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. This seems like I know that these players are built differently, and I know Kittle's tough, but I can't imagine a guy going from where he is right now to where he needs to be to play in 6 days. It just doesn't seem realistic to me.
It doesn't as well to me, and that injury did look like a fairly not significant one, but it was legit when he had it happen with the Colts, where you could see him step, and the second he stepped wrong, he was really gimpy from the moment forward going past that. He's a tough guy too, so he's not a guy that's going to really always show you a lot with that. But I have to feel like they've got to be leaning. But again, at the point in time, it's number one buy on the line too, and that giving him a week and being able to play him, and maybe you just bring him out for a set 15, 20 packages that you bring him out there for, and then try to kind of cut it down the middle if you can from Shanahan's perspective. He seems like a guy to me that does tend to not be as conservative as a guy like McVay with his injury situation on his team. Probably why they've had injuries here. Problem with them over the last few years is that he seems like a guy that's willing to kind of roll the dice, throw the guy out there, and see what he can do. But there's no way Trent's coming back, right?
Yeah, Trent. That would be very careless, I think, at this point. The guy's 40 years old, hamstring. We all know about hamstrings. You've gotten incredibly lucky with this dude already this year. Like the fact that he was able to play in every game this year was kind of a miracle. So yeah,
first time in like 10 years.
Yeah, he
hasn't done it in 10 years.
All-time NFL Ironman for sure. But yeah, he's going to miss this game for sure, I think. And then you got Upton Stout, who had a concussion, so I'm ruling him out as well. I don't think it's realistic you make it back from a concussion in 6 days.
Will be odd. Shaheed has his earlier, and then this guy has his later, but they find a way to get him back on. I know concussions can be weird with that, but that would be a big loss for them. Upton Stout out of the slot has been a tremendous corner for them. He then frees up DeMondre Lenore to play outside, so Lenore doesn't have to be operating as much in the slot, which gives them better, improved cornerback play on the outside. Did they got Ricardo Green coming back?
I haven't seen anything about that, but maybe he came back recently and I didn't notice. That's an interesting question. Let me take a look here.
I know he was out at least a week ago, but I hadn't been keeping necessarily up to date on that one.
All right. According to this, he's questionable.
Okay. He's a solid outside corner for them. So if he's able to come back in, that definitely helps a defense out that certainly is, struggling in a variety of different ways. They got him questionable. They got Stouts questionable. So couple parts there that could be interesting. Nick Martin, the 3rd round pick as well this year in the last year's draft. Neither you nor I thought he should have been a 3rd round pick, but they loved him. And now you are down to D winners and Tatum Bethune. Remember Tatum was 210 pounds at the combine. I think
Martin was too. I think Martin was like that too.
Yeah, they like them. They like them super tiny linebackers out there in San Francisco, man. I'll tell you what, on that part of it. So I want to grab a couple donos here real quick because we got a big one here on your side of it.
Okay.
Me coming in with a $200 donation on Brendan's side of things. Let's go. Me, so very kind on my channel as well. So many big old donations. Really, really appreciated. You are super, super duper kind on that. I thank you so much. Hey, Brendan, I'm not the biggest participant on your channel, but still wanted to show some love, recognize your efforts. Keep it up, man. As always, go Hawks, go 12s, and let's get them Niners. I'm in the Bay, and nothing would please my heart more than a big win this Saturday. Ooh.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a big weekend then. Could you imagine if you don't, and then you got to live in the Bay for the next couple of days? We got to get that win for him, man. We got to do it for him.
I had one point for a given time about 10 years back, live in San Jose for about a 9-month period or so. And boy, when those folks saw me with the Seahawks hat on, and boy, I'd have managers and banks coming up to me being like, you got to get out of here. They were joking, obviously, but it's like, whoa, like you sort of trusted I was going to take that one the right way, didn't you? But got to get this win, me. We got to do it, especially for your sake, being down there in the Bay. And thank you for all of your huge support through this last couple of years here on my channel and over here on Brendan's side of it. And do please, folks, if you get a chance today, get subbed up over there to Seahawks Brendan Nelson. If you're watching here on the Hawks Nest, or if you're on Seahawks Brendan Nelson, sub on up over on the Hawks Nest. So we do this show once a week throughout the course of the year. Except when we get in the drudgery of the off season, there's not as much to talk about in like June. That's always about a month break is when we do approximately here.
Yeah. It usually right after the draft. It's like maybe even a couple months.
Yeah. Well, usually
But yeah.
it's that spot where everybody's on baseball at that time.
Mhm.
But thank you,
me.
me.
Appreciate it.
I
Very
really
much.
appreciate your big support and hope you're having a great day. And let's get this win. Okay. Let's get this dub. Unbelievable. Sean McLeodart, thank you for the $5 donation. Do we need a shot in the arm, i.e., Torrey coming back, stress fracture takes 6 to 8 weeks, divisional round, or can the newfound running game get it done?
This would be a really nice week to have Horton because you got no Shaheed, you got no Cody White, and you also have no Arroyo still. Really wish Horton would be back this week. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. I haven't heard anything positive about his rehab. So at this point, I'm honestly assuming that he might just quietly go on injured reserve to end the year at some point. Wouldn't shock me. And I'm hoping he can be back. But this was the week where he really could have made an impact because we're down to JSN, Barner, and semi-washed up Cooper Kupp to catch passes, and that's almost it.
Yeah. It'd be nice if a Bobo or Drake Young could step up a little, just give you a couple catches in a week like this, isn't it? If you could. And it is one where we definitely shot the arms right, Sean. It'd be nice to be able to have it. But I think to Brendan's point, the team has been very elusive with giving us a timeline for his return. They were elusive about giving us really the information on the injury in the first place being a stress fracture. So I do hope, but I think Brendan's probably likely in that the thing's trending towards maybe this guy just being IR'd all the way through. But I do hope we get him back at some point here because it certainly would help out this receiving core from having another dangerous threat out there. When you're bringing Bobo out there and Drake Young out there, you've got a couple of kind of jag guys out there and how they operate a little bit. And so not as much of a threat from that standpoint. But like you say, the running game gets going and you can find the balance there and you can keep your passing attempts down to 27 like this past game. It becomes less of an issue at that point, Sean. DVN, what's up, man? Good to see you in the house. Thank you for the $5. He says, quote unquote, they sold me for a bag of chips. Michael Jackson of Carolina said, that's all you were worth, man, says DVN. That's all they offered for you. Be mad at them. Yeah, it's a good way of putting it there, right? Right, Brendan? It's like you're mad at Seattle, but like, hey, that's also all that Carolina gave up. And if you're all that good and you're all that great, your reputation's so wonderful, then why weren't there a laundry list of teams lining up for your services?
Yeah, and admittedly, I'd like to have that trade back, maybe get a little bit more, given how Jackson has been good since he left. But at the same time, like it was one of those kind of moves where everybody probably knew we were going to cut him because he hadn't done that much. I think he played like less than 40% of the snaps the previous year. So people already kind of knew he was kind of wearing out his welcome a little bit with Carroll. And then you bring in McDonald, and McDonald wants his own kind of corner, and Jackson's not really that kind of corner. It was one of those things where, of course, you're not going to get that much for him because everybody knows if you can't trade him, you're just going to cut him. They're just trying to basically jump the line a little bit by doing the trade. So it's just the way things go. And yeah. I don't know. I wasn't sure if he was mad about it until after the game when he was talking about how I remember when I used to be a Seahawk, the other players would laugh at me. And I'm like, really? That doesn't sound like something Seahawks players would do. Like,
he just kind of went on that tangent. Yeah, he had that energy going, and it like started early in the week, and it just felt like a ball that just kept picking up more momentum going down the hill with Jackson on the bitching and moaning about the Hawks. It was just struck me in the same way.
Yeah, like I don't know, maybe they were, but like who would be laughing at him? Like Quandre Diggs? Who's laughing at Mike Jackson? I don't get it.
I don't either. Maybe it was the simplified defense of the prior. Maybe something like that. I don't know, man. Mm-hmm. DVN, you're awesome, though. Thank you for that $5, bro. And I agree with you. It's kind of weird. Be mad. Put the madness in a different direction. It doesn't deserve to go to Seattle, one of the more pro-player-friendly organizations that exist in the NFL. Oh, me coming in with another $20 donation. Let's go, me. Thank you so much for another $20 drop. Very, very kind of you, me. Brandon, I know it'll come off as a little disrespectful, but you should put on some earmuffs tonight when Jake goes on his Cope monologue. Laughing out loud. I apologize. That would be petty, but it would be very funny. It would be very funny.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm going to get the excuses. God, the Rams fans, dude.
Yeah, that was an interesting game last night. That was I didn't see that one coming. Maybe you were right. Maybe it's in their head a little bit. We were talking about this last week during the show. Maybe it's in their head.
It was a vibe I got not only just from Jake on this. Jake's kind of a microcosm of what you get from the rest of the fan base on this with the Rams in general. Of what I was seeing online in Twitter talks, X talks, but also what I was getting on my, I don't know if they came in your chat at times, but what I was getting in my chat as well from Ram fans. And I'm going, boy, you guys are really going overboard on this stuff right now. You're getting really caught up in the wrong things as to why you lost this game. And to your point, I did feel like, I'd be interested if you felt the same way, that opening through that game, especially, that it kind of still felt like for the first 3 quarters of that game, the Rams still kind of felt like the vestiges of that last game were still kind of hanging over the top of them a little bit. And I kind of wonder if because of the excuse factor that kept getting propped up over and over again across the board.
I mean, it was 21-0. That's not supposed to happen ever in the NFL, really. 21-0 is like it's like a college thing. It's something that happens in college football. So I don't see how it wasn't. Now, maybe there is some letdown factor here because the Rams knew that they were eliminated for the division, and in their mind, they're not playing for much. But the thing is, they want to beat Atlanta to push their pick up a little bit, right? Like that game was actually kind of devastating for their pick. I was looking at some of the charts today, or actually I was looking at it a little bit last night, and that pick is probably going to end up somewhere around 14th or 15th now. Assuming Atlanta wins against New Orleans this week, which they'll be favored to do. So it's one of those things where if you beat them, that pick is going to be like 11th or 12th. Now it's 14th or 15th. That's actually, in this draft, which is already kind of not great, that's kind of a big deal.
That's a huge deal because you're not getting your blue chip talent. You might have had an opportunity if it was around that top 6 point year a couple weeks ago where it was kind of looking to where now you're in a place where you're just about on the line, quite frankly, of the second round talent of players starting to click into gear there. Hopefully things can drop down. But the problem here too comes into play at picking that spot is that you're not going to get those 4 quarterbacks taken up in the top 15 inside of you to have the player drift down like a Byron Murphy did for us with the 6 quarterbacks that were taken in our draft. So that's not going to also occur in this situation. And so you're going to be kind of stuck there from a Ram perspective, kind of probably having to grab a talent that you didn't think would be as maybe good as you could have gotten a couple weeks ago. I got to say too, the Ram fans, and I say this with complete respect and love, like we need to get a better handle on the rules and need to get a better handle on the rule book and what is this and what is that. Again, last night with the Falcon game, bro, the late play to Tutu Atwell where they're saying, and the telecast with, I think it was Aikman or Buck or whatever, got this wrong. I don't know if you saw the play I'm talking about with Atwell deep at the end of the game.
Oh yeah. I know.
How was that pass interference? Atwell's he's initiating contact and then extending his arm off, and it doesn't get called on him. Then he drops the ball. That's offensive PI to me, and that's why the official didn't call it there.
I mean, the first time I saw it, I thought it was defensive pass interference too, but then they showed the whole play where you see Atwell kind of reach out. They didn't show that at first. So at first I was like, okay, yeah, that's probably a missed call. But once you see the whole play, it's like, okay, there we go. And earlier that game, they did a great job on that one offensive pass interference on the, I think it was the Xavier Watts interception where they actually caught it. I was like, wow, that's not easy to catch sometimes. They actually did really good there.
They did, and Caden was in a good position. So they didn't punish him for being in, for not doing it. Are you in the same place with this? If the offensive player to me initiates the contact, it's game on. To me at that point, my cornerback gets an opportunity to be just tit for tat. And that then as an official, if you see that, you pretty much go, hey, the receiver here is basically indicating he wants to duke this out. He's the one that started this. I'm not going to reward him for starting something that the defender's got to react to. And if he doesn't react to, it's going to be a catch. To me, you got as official there, just let it play out and go, hey, you don't have to call a flag. You don't have to do offensive pass interference, but just let him duke it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense. I'm down with that. And then what was the other one?
The other one was the freaking the Puka catch at the end. I still have people on Twitter. I'm looking at my Twitter timeline today, and it's Ram fan, and I don't even know why Ram fans are popping in my Twitter timeline. Ram fan after Ram fan popping in my Twitter timeline talking about it's a catch. How the NFL doesn't know that this is a catch. And I'm just going, you guys, this is just like last week. You're arguing things about where they got the call right. If you're gonna bitch and moan about Mike Jackson flinging Rashid Shaheed 5 yards out of bounds into a bench and then concussing him, that's where you look at a retrospect and you go, oh, that was BS. The officials should have called that play. But he literally makes the one-handed catch and then 2-tap get down. Then he's floating to the ground and he throws the ball up and then catches it back in his hand. That's an incomplete pass. There is no you're controlling the ball when the ball's in the air.
Yeah, I've only seen one person say that was a catch, and I think it's a known engagement farmer. So I haven't seen that one so much, but I mean, you're right. I think most people know that's not a catch. I think most people are aware of that. It's not the Des Bryant rule, by the way. That's a different thing.
I'm telling you that. No, it's not but I'm telling you, Ram fans after the game, I saw it today first thing on my morning on my feed coming up, and I was just like, you guys are right back in the same old thing where you're just like, rather than owning the fact you just lost the Falcons, you're trying to find any other reason other than just taking ownership, and you come back to being in their heads and not operating with the right mentality coming off a loss and pairing forward. I do feel like there's a little bit there. I think the Rams are still dangerous, but this complaining about the refs, and I got into it last week with him because I was done with it after game last week where we have this all-time classic game and Ram fans are going to talk about it in retrospect like somehow the officials handed it to us rather than we really quite simply took it. And I felt like it was a moment to kind of press Jake on that last week on the roundtable and saying, okay, here's exhibit A, B, C, D, E, F through the last just 7 years alone of your team just caking us up almost alone with these bad calls and the officials right in your pocket. So it's, to me, with that's one fan base to me that should not be so, especially again when the calls are right.
I mean, some of these Rams fans have probably started getting into football in 2021, right? I mean,
that's a good point.
They did move there. I mean, so it kind of makes sense, right? I guess that like does when they have baseball games in Tampa Bay, and the PA announcer has to announce the rules constantly throughout the game. Like each batter gets 3 strikes and 4 balls. A player
still
must
toddlers
plate to get a run. They're doing that down there.
I wouldn't doubt it. But thank you, me, for the $20 donation. I may try to find some kind of creative way because I am anticipating Jake's again going to try to bring up the officiating, and I don't want to hear it. I really don't want to hear it.
Stephen A. Smith thing that he did on First Take with Skip Bayless back in the day. Whenever he got bored, he'd just pull out a newspaper and start reading it. That was his thing.
That's
that might
awesome.
work. But nobody has newspapers anymore.
That could work. Absolutely, that could work. But thank you, me. I appreciate the $20 donation and appreciate all of your support to both of our channels here today. Sean with another $2 donation says, also, is there a Bobo Cup silver lining for run blocking?
I don't know how good Cup has been at run blocking this year. I feel like he hasn't been as good as advertised.
He's been pretty good. Maybe not as good as quite advertised is maybe a fair way of putting it. But when you do come down to having him out there, I think he is a net plus as a blocker at the wide receiver position. I think that Rashid Shaheed, I think he's okay with that. But I do think, so he's only 31.5 right now in his run blocking grade for the year being Shaheed. So you are getting a significant difference between a Bobo to Shaheed as far as that goes. And we have the Charbonnet run there in this game where the 2 pivot blocks that are laid for his biggest run of the day or second biggest run of the day to the outside. It was Bobo out leading the way, and then it was Cup getting the pin block in there. And both of those 2 guys got their 2 blocks landed, which then sprung Charbonnet to go. So outside zone run is going to go to the edge. You need your receivers on the edge to land their blocks for the outside zone to go. If it doesn't, the cornerback comes running up and makes the tackle. So yeah, I think that's completely a fair outlook at the situation there when he's out there as you get a little bit more with him. I think Derek Young's a pretty good run blocker as well. So that does maybe give you a little bit of a bump to that side of it, especially with the run game kind of coming forward, Sean.
Yeah, and that Niners run defense has really fallen off lately, it feels like. Sunday night, for most of that game, I think the Bears were averaging like 8 yards a carry. Like they cannot stop the run right now.
It's what happens, I think, when you come down to things at the end of the year adding up in that you go, okay, you lose Michael Williams, you lose Bosa, those hurt. But then you're losing the rotation of snaps to the other guys at that point. And so now suddenly over the course of the year, the snap count's got to raise up on guys like Khalil Davis, and it's got to raise up on Bryce Huff, and it's got to brace up. You're giving too much to them because you just don't have the depth to call upon. And when you call upon the depth, it's falling off a cliff. And so the lesser you want to call upon it now. And then you get to the end of the year and you're just a little bit more tapped out than you would have been ideally when how you put it on paper and having those rotations kind of work through there a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So it is something to attack.
Absolutely something to attack. Got to run the ball this week. Got to stay committed to running the ball. And I think you got to see what make the Niners get punished as well if they're going to bring up people up in the box. PGZ, thank you for the $2 donation. Good to see you, man. He says, salute, B&B. Salute to you. The Rams whining makes me happy. Boy, they are whinging, Brendan. Like the Brits say, they are whinging big time.
Yeah. So I know it was just one game, and I understand that there's no Devontae Adams, but do you think Stafford might be running out of gas a little bit? Last night, he did not seem to have his accuracy at all, and he is old. Like, it would not be shocking if suddenly the wear and tear caught up to him.
He took a shot last week by Uchenna Nwosu right on into the chest that he was kind of like, ooh, he felt it. He did tell the telecast, as they were saying last night, that he was feeling as good at this time in the season as he's felt in many recent years. Of course, quarterbacks can BS about that stuff, right? And it's not like they're going to tell you, like, yeah, my arm's hanging on by a thread right now. I can't even feel the bottom of my back. My toes are numb.
Sounds like Zeke Elliott. I'm in the best shape of my life when he's 32 years
there's
old.
a little bit of that. Yeah. It's like it's the opposite of me thinks he doth protest too much. It's like, what's the opposite of that saying? Me thinks you're praising your condition too much. So it's making me happy as well. And for the reason like Brendan brought up, in that I had a little bit of a sneaking suspicion, and I think it played a part in last game, maybe not through the whole game, but through a lot of the game, being that when you start to make excuses like this as a football team, rather than owning your failures and owning what's wrong, and you do it from a coaching staff on down, and that it's perpetuating through the team a little bit, especially from your leaders like Puka Nacua, that I think that then it's something you don't do as good a job of owning what needs to be corrected. And so the same mistakes come back into play game after game after game, or will come down the course after a couple games because of that. So I wonder a little bit about with the Rams. This seemed to really knock them off the stride. That loss last week, Brendan, was not just any kind of loss. It felt like one that was really devastating by just the way that they were whining and complaining, quite frankly.
Right. And I mean, granted, we don't really want this to happen because we want to win on Saturday, of course. But if that Rams team has to go play the Eagles in Philly, like, that's not a good matchup for them. I know Philly's got problems. I understand that, and I'm not saying I would pick Philly to win, but that is not the matchup that LA wants right now.
They've lost them 3 times in 3 matchups over the last 2 years, to your point. Like they've handled them, and one of those is at home where Saquon ran crazy on them last year. They hate that matchup. They know that's not a good fit for them stylistically, team wise. So, and they're not playing bad football either. The Eagles right now. Maybe they're not playing their best, but they're not like falling into the tank here. They've got enough there that they can still be very dangerous against that Rams team. Yeah. So, it's going to be a tough road to hoe there for the Rams going on the road the way that they've got to do so. And interesting to see how these kind of playoff seedings fit, Brendan. How it could come out to just a perfect place for us. Where imagine if you get a first round bye, maybe come back and you're playing the Niners again into the second round at that point, or into the, there's some ways that this could work out combination wise that really could get tasty for us as far as matchup wise goes.
And don't rule out the Packers too. I mean, they're probably going to get the Bears first playoff game could be kind of like one of those things where the more experienced team wins out. And then you're playing the Packers with no Micah Parsons and Jordan Love all beat up. Like that's on the table. And then I'm not going to say it's a free trip to the NFC title game, but you're feeling good about playing this Packers team right now.
I absolutely think you are. They've got their share of some injuries, and that Bear team just beat them a couple weeks ago, I think, in Green Bay, if I'm not mistaken.
But they needed an onside kick. If you need an onside kick to win a game, that's kind of a fluke.
Yeah, I would agree there. That's definitely highly, highly fluky. But I do think that we've got some favorable matchups this year in the NFC, and how they work. Saying that if Carolina comes, if they could, do that, imagine Carolina comes back and plays in your house after somehow getting the division and pulling off a win in the first round because they're playing at home, right? They get it. There's a couple things here, man. I'm not trying to get too far ahead of us because we got to take care of the Niners first. But this is why it's so important to get that number 1 bye, the first round bye, to get the number 1 seed, but the home field advantage, and then having after that first round, and maybe where you got a couple tasty matchups on deck. As I like to say, to grease the wheels, Brendan, to grease the wheels.
That's right.
Roy Froelich with a $5 donation over on Brendan's side. Thank you for that, Roy. Is Bobo here next year?
Okay, so the receivers next year, JSN, obviously. I think we will re-sign Shaheed. I do. Horton. And who else is guaranteed a spot? Anybody?
Nope. Drake Young and Bobo, as I understand it, would both be due for free agency. Cody White's the one guy that I think that would maintain onto the roster.
And he could be a cut if we decided we wanted to go in a different direction. I don't think we would, but it costs nothing to let him go. Ricky White, he's another guy who could stay or go, and it doesn't really
It's
matter that
true.
much.
Yeah. There's Ricky's in there in the mix as well. Um, Cost starts to go up a little bit for Bobo on the veteran minimum thing. If you're bringing him back just on a 1 year deal, because I don't know that he's going to have a big market out there for his services necessarily. So, from my perspective, Brendan, I think it's a little bit of a kind of a coin flip on this, Roy, where I could see them restructuring Cooper Cup, using the restructured money with Cooper Cup to then sign Rashid Shaheed. And then you've got Horton there, and then you're bringing back Bobo on kind of a vet minimum to be that back end receiver on the roster who knows your system, who run blocks really well, who's a really good special teams player. I could see it going that way, but I could also see him saying, let's save $1 million and go to somebody cheaper for that back end receiver position, specifically as much because you're going to be paying JSN at that point. You're going to be paying potentially Cooper Cup some money at that point and Sheed at that point. So you got to save the money somewhere on the old load balancing positional game with the cap. How about you? You think he's going to be here?
I'm going to say no, but it's not a solid no. I think we are going to try to find somebody that's a little bit more of a receiver, because clearly we're not into Bobo as a receiver anymore. I don't think we see much of anything there. There was some hope that maybe Grubb just didn't get it with Bobo and that maybe a new OC would get it, but that's not happening. So I think we're going to kind of move the deck chairs around on the back end of the receiver depth chart a little bit, see if we can shake things up and find something a little more interesting. I do think we might keep Cody White and maybe Ricky White just because he's going to be super cheap because he's in the second year of a rookie deal. But I'm going to say guys like Bobo and Derek Young probably get moving.
Yeah, it would be the way that it would typically go, I think, if it holds fit to serve and how these situations tend to play out. Jeffrey Thistle, thank you for another $2 donation. Good to see you in the house, brother. Says Rams killed their own pick. Classic. And it's good to see because that pick had me nervous throughout this year. But they indeed did. They screwed the pooch last night.
Yeah. So looking at the consensus big board, which I look at a lot, pretty much throughout the year. But if they end up picking around 14 or 15, that probably kind of eliminates a quarterback because I think guys like Ty Simpson are going to get overdrafted. Dante Moore is probably gone. And of course, Mendoza's gone. And if you look at the big board right now, the guys in range there would be guys like Jermon McCoy, Mansour Delani, Makai Lemon, Sonny Styles. It feels very different from earlier this year when it looked like they were going to get like Carnell Tate or Ruben Bain or Caleb Downs. So it's a very different feeling.
Very different feeling. I think you're right to bring up a cornerback because I believe Akeelia Witherspoon's been at times a healthy scratch for them. Forbes has been fine, but I think that they certainly can look at that secondary and say that there's some places for improvement out there. A lot of good high floor corners in this draft in my early look of things. So very well could be where they go, but it's not going to be as exciting as a difference making kind of pick for that position as it was looking earlier on this year. And that's a good thing for our Seahawks. Still wonder about what's going to go on Stafford. Still wonder if there's still that outside possibility here of a Burrow-like run that the Rams make if Stafford does retire. But that'll be for an offseason intrigue, I suppose.
Well, there are other runs they can make too. Like, what if they could somehow spin something up for Dak Prescott? To me, he might be like the next Stafford if Burrow's not there. Veteran quarterback, really good, not winning anything where he is, really expensive. I might see something like that happen because Dak is really good. Dak is, I think, not that far off from where Stafford is. Like he is on that level to where I think McVay would go, yeah, I'm sticking around for Dak.
It's possible, and I think you're right on the right path that this is really the offseason as much as any time that Dak's been there in Dallas, that this is as much a good a chance as any to move him because they're kind of stuck in place, not going anywhere fast while they're paying him the amount of money they're paying him. It's possible. I do think with McVay, whether it's a guy like that or whether it's a guy like Burrow, my instinct on McVay is I don't think that he wants to go and draft a guy and wait for a couple of years for all the kinks to get worked out and have to bring that guy along to where he finally has him going. I think he's going to want somebody a little more ready-made, as much specifically because of the success he's had with Stafford. And if it's worked so well going down this road once, why wouldn't you want to go down it again?
Yeah, I mean, it seems better than trying to develop somebody. It feels like McVay is the kind of coach that is like, I don't want to spend years trying to develop a quarterback when I don't know if he's going to turn out good. I don't want to waste time like that. I want somebody that I know is ready to go. And
Agreed.
it's kind of like John Gruden. I think John Gruden was like this too. He didn't want to develop a quarterback. He just wanted somebody who could go win out the box.
No, I don't
And
think.
he'll give up anything to make that happen, just like he did for Stafford.
Yeah, to your point, I don't think John ever developed as a head coach, at least any
Yeah,
young
he
quarterback.
tried one time. You remember with who?
Chris Sims.
Yes, Chris Sims. Chris Sims,
Yeah,
the guy who almost died in the locker room because of a burst spleen.
yeah, that's scary ass injury. But he had Gannon, journeyman there, and the Raiders going to the Super Bowl with that. Brad Johnson, journeyman there with the with Tampa Bay when he was down there. So just
Jeff
kind of the way
Garcia.
some coaches are wired. I get it. I don't know if I might be that way too if I was a head coach, especially if there's some good quarterbacks actually on the market. It's like I especially now, frankly, if I was head coach right now with where the NFL's offensively wise at, no more of the spread concepts is much proliferating everywhere, and you got to do the under center stuff, and you got to do more traditional quarterbacking things. Brendan, I think that I'd rather have more of the guy that's had the time to kind of work through all the ups and downs and master some of that stuff to some degree, where we're at right now too. So it kind of all lines up, but Rams are not in quite the sensational situation they were looking at a couple of weeks ago with Atlanta looking like they're going to give them a top 5 pick. Holy mackerel. Lord Disciple, thank you for the $5 donation. Lord's Disciple says, bro, I saw the chat. They were calling for a new quarterback, blaming refs, even saying McVay has to go. Laughing out loud, this fan base doesn't know adversity. Big heads. I think he touches on maybe the big part of what's at the heart of here is just I don't sense a team that really has had to face a lot of adversity. And when they're now facing it, I don't know that I'm sure it's different from what the fans are doing to what the players maybe are doing, but at least from a fan base standpoint, they don't seem to have a roll with the punches kind of attitude on this one, Brendan.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising too, because I know that maybe some of the players on the team don't really have that deep playoff run experience, but McVay, Super Bowl winning coach, Stafford won the Super Bowl a few years ago. Like, you'd think there would be leadership in that locker room that would help guide them during a time like this. Even, I know Poona Ford's never won a Super Bowl, but he's a longtime NFL veteran. They've got some guys in there that you think would be a little bit more, able to steady the ship in times like this.
You do. And maybe they will at some point with this too, Lord Stiple. I think that they're still a very dangerous team, and they're going to get guys, Devontae Adams might be back for them. Dotson might get back in there for them. They're going to get back their Lyric Jackson, their left tackle. So they will be a stronger team probably come playoff time when it's all said and done. But you just get that sense of a feeling of like, man, are you guys spinning out a little bit out there? Are you guys going on, are you going a little bit turned here a little bit? It just feels like kind of just like that last week game just kind of seemed like it just sort of sent not just the players, but the fans a little bit into a bit of that tailspin.
Yeah, we call it on tilt. They call it
tilt. That was the word I was looking for. Yes, thank you. You
Tilt.
saved me on that one. I was drowning for that word, Brent. Industry Worth in the house. Good to see you, Kat. Thank you for the dollar donation. Really, really appreciate you. Hope you're having a good day. Jeffrey, this is with another $10 donation. Thank you for that, Jeffrey. Appreciate you. No one played any defense in the Bears versus Niners game. They should have just left their defenses on the sideline. Next year, the Bears coming, though, after they put some attention on defense.
Yeah, I want to draw attention to the fact that last week, Bears fans were spamming the Pro Bowl voting so hard. They actually had I'm not even kidding, about 13 Bears defenders in the Pro Bowl by the fan vote. They had 3 defensive tackles, including one guy who almost never plays. They had 3 cornerbacks, including guys who are objectively terrible. They had literally all their starters and some rotational pieces in the Pro Bowl because they were spamming the voting on Twitter or X or whatever. So thankfully, the NFL doesn't allow fan voting to rule over everything. So they were able to override most of that. But that is the defense that Bears fans thought was worth spamming the Pro Bowl voting for.
That was remarkably awful. I was getting so frustrated with it because of the fact that you get it why the Niners are having their thing go on, right? Like you get it with them because it's like, look, you lost your 2 most important players. You lost this offseason, Dre Greenlaw, Hufanga. You're down Ricardo Green, a solid corner for you on the outside. You lose Upton Snout at one point. You go, okay, I get it with the Niners. At least I understand why they're in the predicament they are. But with the Bears, Like you didn't do anything, it felt like, through that game to challenge that 49er offense in the least to me. It just felt like they did whatever they wanted to do. And Brock Purdy at the front of that. Just, I want to scramble a little bit on this play. I want to improvise and elongate. Okay, I want to play on time here. I'm just going to throw the check down here. Just, he got to pick his poison, it felt like to me.
Yeah, they were just waiting for Purdy to throw it deep downfield into double coverage by accident at some point. They were just hoping that he would mess up. And Purdy, one thing about him is he's probably not going to make that mess up. He's going to keep taking the easy throw.
He will, if you give it to him. And it's going to be part of what we're going to talk about in our outlook of this team today, and our approach on this is that if you give him the easy stuff, he's going to take the easy stuff. He'll press things at times too, but you got to first take away the easier stuff to make that happen. I do agree with Jeffrey on the secondary point to this too, Brendan, in that I think that the Bears are one of the teams in the NFC that are really moving in the right direction for the future. That, yeah, the record shows that this year, but this is not going to be an outlier year where next year they come back down to earth, in my opinion. They've rebuilt that offensive line for Caleb, so they've given him a steady offensive line to work with. He's got freaking people to throw to all over the place. They're down to Dunzier, and they're still lighting up the scoreboard. It really will just come down to what they can do to really address their defense now this offseason and hammer that thing and get that up. But Dennis Allen's, I think, overall a good defensive coordinator, better defensive coordinator than head coach. So they're definitely set up right. You feel the same way?
I gotta believe they're going to stay on top here. The Ben Johnson hire looks actually really good. I had my doubts, but he looks like he's a good coach. I think they're good to go, man. I think they are good to go for the long term, and at least until Caleb's contract extension kicks in. Which, I mean, next year's the last year of the rookie deal before he can get extended, but the big money won't kick in for a little while, so they should be cruising for a little bit here.
They got some time. They got some time to take advantage of that in full, and they got some good players around that. I was impressed with that Burton kid out there. I know he had the bad drop in the game and a couple drops in that game. They're actually in a different position, but Loveland's been good too for him as far as pass catching goes. So they've got some parts and pieces there really interesting. They just, like you say, Jeffrey, now it's about you got to get the defense handled now, and we'll see what they do with that. So they don't have to score 50 million points every week. Industry Worth, thank you for another $5 donation. Industry Worth, appreciate you, Cal. Says, I'd love a tour of Seattle. Seems like there's some winners from there. Indeed. We've got a standard up there. That is the case. 3 Super Bowl appearances, 25 years. This fan base is hungry for it. You better believe it.
Yeah, we got a good, man.
We got a good. Who's got better than us? Who's got better than us? Nobody. Industry Worth, thank you again for all of your donos today. A couple of other dono drops from her. Appreciate you for that. Very, very kind of you. Jeffrey Thistle with another $5. Appreciate you, Jeffrey. You're awesome, brother. Thank you so much for all your support. I wish TV broadcast would stop showing our freaking fish market. So many more things to see in Seattle of note. Market is near bottom. Yeah, I'm kind of good with the fish throwing. I could
it's better
not
than
see that anymore.
It's better than the gum wall.
Yeah, the gum wall's not good either, though. I don't need the gum wall either. Yeah, it's like this is not the best of the best to show off our city. There's plenty of cool things within the city you could show without, I think showing the boardwalk. That's the one that like the rebuilt boardwalk down there, and I think that's kind of the cool shot, showing people kind of walking around down there and all that. And I think a big part of the fish market's been, Jeffrey, they do that because it's close to the stadium, so the camera crews can just go down the street, film it, and then get back. You could do the same thing on the boardwalk, and you got at least then the beautiful ocean view and the islands in the background. I just think that'd be more of a cooler shot for them, but they've been going to that fish market since I think the 80s, Brendan.
Yeah, I guess it's cool because they catch the fish so they can relate it to football. It's like, oh, they're catching the fish. It's like catching a football, I guess. That's all I got.
I know. I'm the same. Like, I guess it's kind of relatable. But thank you, Jeffrey. I'm with you. Definitely done with seeing that stuff. Thank you, man, for your donos. Cheeto in the house. What's up, Cheeto? Thank you for the $5 donation. He says, finally made one of your streams. Can't wait to see you in a Niner hat, homie. No. It's Jesse that ends up in the Niner hat. I wore it in the first week 1. I ate that. It's his turn now. It's his turn. Got a hat bet on the line this week, Brendan.
Does the Cardinal guy, Mike, ever do hat bets, or does he just know he's going to lose, so he doesn't bother?
No, he's not. We tried last week with, I think we were going to do a hat bet with him and Jesse or Jake they play the Rams this week. So I was trying to talk him into, we'll give you 20 points. You know what I mean? Like, we even tried to give him a little bit of like, you get 20 points, man. How about that? He's like, no. he's he's been his team's got him in a bit of a play. I can't blame him, right? It's
Yeah,
been a long road of losing out
I
there.
would take 20 points though. I think 20 points. I'd probably jump on that.
I tried even like let's negotiate, Mike. I was like 23, 24. Come on, you can get Jake, and he's like, no, no chance. So not happening. But indeed, we got a half bet this week. Cheeto's referencing me and Jesse there with my NFC West roundtable will be on tonight at 6 o'clock, and we've got a big old hat bet here. I'm going to be putting him in a cray hat. I showed you the hat, didn't I, Brendan? I think I did.
I know the one that you wore last time. I don't think I've seen yours that you're going to try to put him on him.
Yeah. So I got him set up here. One sec. Let me just show it to you so you can see what I've got
All right.
potentially at stake here.
And if it doesn't work out this time, there's always the playoffs, right?
So that's the hat I'm putting on.
Okay. Okay. So actually, I mean, no matter what happens on Saturday, you might have to do it again for the playoff, right? If there's a rematch, you're definitely going to do something, right?
I'm sure there'll probably be a third hat bet if it comes down to another game there at that point. Though I'm sure maybe if Jesse gets a couple more injuries on this Niner team, he might be like, like,
Yeah.
that's one too many.
Notice a CMC getting stretched out at the end of that Bears game?
The back, man, the back was bothering him like hell. And like the thing that stood out to me with the Niners this year on the use of CMC is that he's going to be, I think, well over 400 total touches for the season for the running back position. And that's a guy that's no spring chicken. That's a guy that already was showing signs of wearing down moving into last year. And you do think about a game like this. We're now 17th game of the season here, and he's had all those touches. And there's no way he can be feeling as quick or anywhere close to the fresh angle of what he did when he was into week 1 playing against us. It does seem like you definitely have and Shanahan, this is a bad thing with Shanahan. He will overutilize guys. He did this to Deebo Samuel. He's done this with McCaffrey where he just doesn't find the balance game. He has a toy he wants to play with, and he just keeps playing with that toy until he's broken it apart and there's just nothing left of it. And feels the same way here with McCaffrey.
You remember Mike D'Antoni? NBA coach. Yeah, that was him, man. That was him. He'd play 6 players every game. He'd be like, okay, I got my 5 starters. I got 1 guy off the bench, and I'm going to go with these guys until their knees are literally like grinding against each other. And it ruined Amari Stoudemeier's career. It ruined a couple other players' career. Like some of these guys don't get it. They're just like, you know what? Have your postseason. I just want to win 65 games in the regular season. It's weird.
It is weird, especially a coach in Shanahan that, quite frankly, knows better. I mean, he's got 100 catches this year, almost 96 receptions on 122 targets. So that's 122 times the ball's thrown. A guy's pulling him down as he's trying to make the catch, right? There's more than just the 96 catches there. But then you got 300 carries on the year. So he's already at 400 touches right now for the year walking into the final game of the season. Like I can't think of the last back that we had in Seattle Seahawks history that was anything close to that. And maybe Sean Alexander back in 05 would have been the last guy. I mean, Marshawn probably got close to 300 total, but I mean, just boy, oh boy, with this one, I do wonder about that coming into this game.
Who was the guy on the Falcons that had like 451 season? It was Jamal Anderson.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. You never heard from him again after that one season.
No, and it wouldn't shock me the least if you see a McCaffrey retire after this year, quite frankly, with the kind of workload that they put on his back. So he probably won't, but it's just like, geez, you guys are your leading receiver. You got him at 300. You got Byron Robinson, our second running back in Zach Charbonnet has like 200 carries, right? And that's in a year where you've maintained that low bounce. Robinson's got 90 carries for the year as their number 2 running back.
Yeah, let me check here. So Walker has 232 touches. Charbonnet has 184. Worth noting, Charbonnet missed a game. So they're almost even. If Charbonnet didn't miss that game, they'd be very close to even.
And you're nowhere near in that realm. And this is where you think it would pay off for a team like Seattle and having a little bit fresher running backs versus their number 1 back, who's good. McCaffrey's good, but maybe not quite as fresh coming into this game. But thank you, Cheeto. Appreciate the donation, man. And we'll see who wins the battle of the hats here this next upcoming week between me and Jesse. North Swing, thank you for the $2 donation, North Swing. Who do you think will make it to the Super Bowl from the AFC? Here's a tough question, Brendan.
Oh, boy. Okay, let me think here. Ooh. Wow. 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 Does New England just ride home field advantage through? Because I don't believe in Denver. So I think even if New England has to go to Denver, I'd still probably pick New England. But any other team New England plays, it's going to be at home. I'm not a
I mean,
huge fan, but I mean, Drake May's really good.
Drake May's really good. And the thing that you got to like about that with that pick is the potential is that Vrabel has been in the playoffs and he's had playoff success and he understands as well as playing as a player how the game can be different, how the structure of how you manage a game can be different when you get into the playoffs. And so he's going to have that over guys out there who don't, I think, haven't as much proven that. Certainly the Buffalo Bills have to a degree. And I know Sean McPayton understands what to do in the playoffs. I would go to one of those two teams being, for me, my perspective on this is that it's an either Patriots or Texans team. I just have more faith in them than the rest of the teams in the AFC at this point. I would probably go with Houston because I just keep coming back to the Patriots being able to play what for a long part of this year was the sixth easiest schedule, not in the NFL. They were saying sixth easiest schedule in NFL history for the regular season through a lot of this year. And I just don't think that that's a team that's been tested, tried and true. And I think the Texans have. I think the Texans have had actually kind of a fairly difficult schedule this year.
Counterpoint, the Patriots under Brady and Belichick played a lot of easy schedules too, and they rode those to those Super Bowls.
That's true. It's very true. The feast factor, man, that's a real part of this process as well. So it's and home field advantage is not to be undersold, especially in the inclement weather like that is. You have a Houston team that's a dome team going outdoors. But hell, Houston did a good job last year in that Kansas City team going on the door outdoors in the playoffs and held out there with Kansas City and took really two crap ass calls by the officials in that game to allow the Chiefs to be able to pull that one away.
Yeah, I'm rooting for those guys over in Duval though. I'm rooting for those Duval mofos.
Hold on here, Brendan.
Duval.
I want them in. They're becoming really fun. I love watching Trevor Lawrence start to really figure this stuff out. Love Liam Cohen. They're what I hope happens.
That would be cool. I certainly would take a rematch in the Super Bowl with them. You know what I mean? Who would be the team you would most like to face from the AFC if you make it to the Super Bowl? Like theoretically the easiest matchup from your perspective.
Probably like Pittsburgh, right? Like that if that team somehow limps in, they're just going to crumble, but they're not going to get there. I mean, I'm being kind of hypothetical here.
Yeah, boy, that DK choice last week, man, that is got my man back here in his uniform, but he's got the 12s telling me, take the uniform down. Like I've gotten so many notes there last week. I was already a push from some Hawk fans, but that was an awful look on his part. And boy, you could see how he cost his team this week playing Cleveland in a tight game where one big play from DK Metcalf down the field makes a big difference there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any other way to put it. That cost them that game. Like you got Aaron Rodgers throwing a MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling 3 times with the game on the line.
Yeah, and he's on his third team this year alone, right?
Right.
So yeah. I think that's a good pick on your part. I probably would go to that same selection, or maybe even Jacksonville with it. Because again, I just think Jacksonville. I think they've done well. Liam's done a good job. They're doing good. Jacoby Myers definitely changes the complexion of that team a bit, but I think we could still take him.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Could. M Jordan, thank you for the $10 donation, M Jordan. Very kind of you. Did you see that the Pope Seahawks Super Bowl correlation? Yeah, this is a weird one, folks. 2005, we had a new Pope. Seahawks had 13 wins and got to the Super Bowl. 2013, we got a new Pope, 13 wins, and the Seahawks got to a Super Bowl. 2025, we got a new Pope, 13 wins. Super Bowl? Always a good day when B&B is on my screen. Go Hawks.
You know, I remember when in 2013, when they were picking the new Pope, I was talking to my best friend at the time about it. And the Pope that they picked this time, Pope Dolan, or, you know, at that time, his name was Cardinal Dolan. I mentioned him and my friend was like, oh, they're never going to pick an American Pope because the American Catholic Church is not well respected around the world. He was like, there will never be an American Pope. So 12 years later, it actually happened. So I always remember that conversation now because it's like, we've come a long way.
We did. And it's a crazy kind of stat because it's just they're so infrequently that you do have a pope going to being changed. And those guys tend to last a while when they're in it. It's for life most of the time. So very cool stat. And hopefully twice over before Jordan, it's proven to get us there. This will work out a third time and we've gotten the 13 wins. So, just keeps fitting a type, man. This is the rhythm. This is the rhythm, as they say there, Jordan. I love it.
Yeah,
What a cool
like
stat, though. Just a weird kind of, random deal there with that.
Hopefully it doesn't mean that Seattle only makes the Super Bowl in years where they pick a new pope, because it doesn't happen very often, right?
I know. If that's the case, man, we're going to be like, we only get maybe like 2 more Super Bowls in our lifetime after this, because this guy's, I think, kind of young-ish. So that won't be good for us. We'll have to savor this one, bro. We'll have to savor this one deep. But Jordan, sorry, go ahead.
No, we're going to need like a really tumultuous time in the Catholic Church, like with the Borgias back in the day where they were swapping popes constantly. That's what we would need to happen, which I don't know if that would be worth it. That there's a lot of bad stuff that happens when that goes down.
The price to be paid would be too much for it. So we'll see. But MJ Jordan, this year, it's all good. And maybe this year it'll be a payoff year. And boy, we'd love to see that. Thank you, man. Appreciate your support. Seth K. Aloha, thank you for the $5 donation. With the trade rumors surrounding Max Crosby, should we be interested in making a move, and can we afford it on the cap? Also, what trade capital would it cost?
Yeah, this is, I think, the big swing to take if you're taking a big swing this offseason. Lines up really well, makes a lot of sense. Crosby clearly wants out of Vegas, and who can blame him? You saw some of the stuff this week, right? With him playing basketball.
I did. Yeah. It's yeah. I come back to, it's like the Raiders not moving at the deadline. I said it was stupid and they're going to regret not doing it. They're not going to get as much return this offseason. They could have gotten that time, and it's all going to be proven case. This has gone just like I thought it would go there with Max. And so it's not surprising to me because you could see this coming from like 1,000 miles away a little bit on the situation. But it's a mess, and it's why the Raider organization maintains and continues to be one that just is a mess of an organization, and they're not going to win anytime soon when this is how they're going to operate.
Yeah, so we're my thought process is, and we'll never know for sure, Raiders probably wanted 3 first-round picks for him, and we wouldn't go there. So now that this has happened, are we thinking like 2 first-round picks and a sweetener?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a soft sweetener, though, and it would have been a hard sweetener at the trade deadline. I don't think they were ever going to get the 3 first-round picks, because you've gotten 2 first-round picks, a kicker, and maybe a player included, which I think might have been a guy like Woolen included in this last trade. And you're not going to get all that now. So you might get the 2 picks and 4th rounder or 5th rounder in a future draft or something like that. But I don't think you're going to get anything past that. I don't think a player, he's going to have off-season surgery in addition to it.
Right.
So it's like that's like you depressed your value on the player a little bit. As far as making the move goes, we'll see what Brendan has to say as far as his take on the specific point in a second. I do believe that the cost on returns is going to be determined by Seth, whether you have to put him on a new contract extension or not. He has 4 years remaining on his deal. He just signed an extension last offseason, but it didn't give him any new bonus money. So though you could come back to him and say, you got to play on your contract, he might come back to you and say, I've got no bonus money. I've only got these guarantees. You got to do a little bit more than that. That's where, to me, you find the happy return on this, to where you based a bonus the first year of the 4 years remaining on his contract, which is $30 million. You separate that by 4 at that point, so that you get to take $7.5 million and equally put it down the line at that point. So 7.5, but then you lower down his cap hit substantially. You don't have to do it. You can afford it. You got the 7th most cap space as it stands right now. So you don't even have to do this, but it'd be just an easy way to make it even more, pliable. And it could also drive as well. If you don't have to put him on an extension, that could end up making the cost more, because the Raiders can say, you don't have to put him on an extension like Khalil Mack had to get put on, like Micah Parsons had to get put on. You're just going to have him for the next couple of years under the current deal. That's a discount to you. So you give us more than because of that. So this is where it gets hard to get to, from my perspective, Brendan, a hard line answer on this one. But I'll have you give yours, and I got to use the bathroom real quick.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So here's mine. I was thinking, what if it's 2 first-round picks and Jalen Milroe? Like, maybe we're happy with Darnold. Maybe we feel like Milroe's not really part of the plan now. What if you went the 2 firsts and Jalen Milroe? That might be fun. That could be an interesting sweetener for the Raiders because they need a quarterback. They do have the top pick, but they may, if they're not enamored with Mendoza, they probably don't want to spend that top pick on a quarterback. That could be fun. Maybe it's as simple as 2 firsts and Nwosu, because he's a guy who you might not need as much once you get Crosby. Maybe it's 2 firsts and Derek Hall if they want somebody younger. There's some pretty good options here. So there are a few things that you can do. All right, welcome back.
Sorry about that.
So what I suggested just now, what if it's 2 firsts and Jalen Milroe? What if that's the sweetener?
That's a good question. Probably not. You're going to have to take 1 less first round pick. I'll give you a future second and I'll throw Milroe in there. I've given you 2 first round picks in the pathway to your franchise quarterback. And again, back to some of this is going to depend upon exactly knowing what we're going to be at contract wise, what we got to pay him, what he's going to demand. And I say this is not even the biggest guy to think that Milroe is going to pay off, but you get development of Milroe for a year now and you're still loving Sam Darnold, and you get down 2 years down the line and now you potentially can move Milroe for a first round pick, or late first round pick even. I'm not saying he'll probably ever drive up to get a top 15, but second round pick, first round pick. I mean, you're kind of giving that up in this way. It's not just the third rounder that you traded for him. Now it's you're sort of giving up that potential as well right now. So I could maybe be talked into it, but I would maybe want the Raiders to kick us back something like a 4th rounder in return if we did that.
Yeah, or you could just kind of go more straight up, 2 firsts and Hall, because we're not going to need Hall as much if we have Crosby, or 2 firsts and Nwosu, because you're not going to need Nwosu as much if you get Crosby. There are a couple different ways to do things. Some people in chat are saying Maffe's a free agent at the end of the year, so we can't trade him.
No, he's a free agent.
So Maffei cannot be part of any Max Crosby deal unless we tag him, which is not going to happen because he hasn't done anything this year.
Yeah, he hasn't been in that place. So I just think there's not an alignment here from the Seahawks standpoint on, doing it. Can you, there's some creative ways. I mean, can you get the Raiders to start talking about JPJ in the return? And then maybe there's a combination of that to work. There's a lot of different kind of combinations here rather than just pure the draft capital to do it. Seth, to your point, I think we're going to be one of the top 3 teams making a strong run at him at this point. I think that there's going to be competition for his services, but we will be one of those teams. And I would like us to be aggressive. This is a need. It's not going to cost you a lot. This is a weak draft. When you're picking in the first round, Brendan, you and I, when we first started up this and talked about it, man, we would go over and over again of the struggles in picking in the 20s in the first round for our Seahawks and John Schneider. That is not one of the strengths of his drafting prowess. That's one of the places that he has historically been a little bit weaker on. It's not an easier place to draft now. I'm not knocking him because this is, for a lot of GMs, a tough place of the draft to find good value. But with that said, that makes me all the more, a little bit more willing to move these 2 future first round picks that are going to be in the 20s probably, if not deeper than that. And what he would do to this defense, what he would bring to this defense, you're talking about building an all-time defense at that point if you can maintain your health. I mean, there's that, not just on paper, but absolutely, positively, that would be the case.
Like these last 5 games, you watch them, there's got to be a part of you that's thinking, man, I really wish we had a money in the bag blue chip edge rusher. We got good edge rushers, but there's some of these games, man, where they just don't get it done for most of the game. And Crosby.
Yeah. And that stood out in that Rams game 2 weeks ago, Brendan, where you just had Stafford back there having a lot of time in the pocket to be able to operate. And you have a good quarterback in the playoffs that has the time to operate in the pocket. They will cut you apart. It's the reality of this. So it's becomes a big priority for me because of this. And one way or the other, whether it's Crosby or not, you're going to need to get more dynamic edge work than what you've gotten recently out there. If we come to find this to be a thing that's kind of holding us back, that we need something a little bit more over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Right. OEL coming in with a $20 donation. OEL, thank you for that. Very, very, very kind of you, my man. He says, just got this dream. Don't know if this was mentioned, but I find it hilarious that Ram fans are going to have to root for the Seahawks to win the number 1 seed this Saturday just so they can avoid the Eagles. Poor Jake. Hold on, Brennan, just a second.
Oh, Billy.
Yes, indeed. We had Niner fans rooting for us last week, Brendan, and now we're going to have Ram fans, dogs and cats living together. Are we in hell on earth? Is this revelation here? What's going on?
I mean, if I'm a Rams fan, I probably hate the Niners more than I hate the Seahawks, honestly. So I might be rooting for Seattle anyway. Like they're in the same
True.
state. The Niners owned the Rams for a long time there. Remember, Shanahan
I
had
do.
that like 7-game win streak on the Rams at one point. So I don't know if that would necessarily radically change anything, but you're right. It is kind of interesting the way things have worked out here. And I mean, yeah, I know that the Rams already lost to Carolina this year, but I'm sure they'd much rather go there than go to Philly.
Oh, I agree. You talking about a difference of two matchups, man. One on two different ends of the scale on that. So yeah, I would imagine that they don't want to go back to Philadelphia. 3 times they beat them, had them this year in their house, and then they came back and beat them. They just kind of feel like a team that's got a little bit of their number there, OEL. So we'll see. But I'll be interested to hear if that's where Jake stands. If he's going to be just hoping we could beat him, so they have to take the Eagles. That'd just be more of representation to me. Like if I'm a Rams fan right now, that's a little bit more of the representation back to making excuses and trying to, rather than saying, hey, Eagles, good, let's go. We can take them. We got them. We're the better team. It's like, well, how confident are you really in your team if you're, and I'm interested to hear where they're at on that OEL on that one just a little bit. But that is hilarious. That is very funny, man.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you. You dropped big old donos here recently on this channel, man. Thank you for all your support, bro. Good to see you in the house. And let's go get this number 1 seed, man. Let's go make some Ram fans happy at that point. I don't care. Number 1 seed by any means necessary.
Right.
We got Will Freeze in the house. Checking in from Minnesota, I guess. Here, maybe, huh? Thank you for the $10 donation to Will. Very kind of you over on Brendan's side. I'm worried about the Niners' ability to hit those intermediate passes in the middle of the field. That's been a weakness for us and a strength for them. Their offense is humming, and I'm worried.
Hopefully McDonald was watching tape of these last couple of games and have seen the Niners just abuse the middle of the field and get an idea of what might be coming. Because the nice thing with playing the Niners is you don't really have to worry about Purdy going deep down the field. Doesn't really have the arm for it, especially now. Like he had a pretty weak arm before he started playing in the NFL, but after all these injuries, he's got a real noodle. And that's kind of the nice thing here. You don't have to worry about that. And I will say, though, watching these last couple games, sometimes it does almost kind of feel like the 49ers have found a cheese tactic on offense where just nobody knows how to stop it because they make it look so easy. Like I watched the Niners play offense these last couple weeks. Then I watched the Seahawks play offense, and the Seahawks have a pretty good offense, like statistically, but it doesn't look like they're playing the same sport, and it's crazy, but I don't know how else to put it.
Same offense, too, which is interesting on that note. To your point, I think Collinsworth did a good job in the telecast in the Bears game of capturing, I think, a little bit of some of that simplicity you talk about and what they're doing, where it's not, they're doing intricate things and it's like a dozen intricate things they're doing to create what's happening. What you see them doing is the utilization of McCaffrey with 96 receptions this year. And he did a great job in showing it in the D where, okay, Bears defensive, and especially the linebackers, try to sync up and take McCaffrey away. You hit him with the over route over the top behind the linebackers. The linebackers drop to depth to take away the over route in the middle of the field. Now you just have Brock throwing down to basically right there McCaffrey in front of the line, right? McCaffrey runs like 3 yards in front of the line of scrimmage, check it down to him, and he goes and gets 5 and 6 yards. It's a big key in this game for our Hawks, and this was a big key this last week with us getting those 3 yards in a run game and 9 of 16 on third downs, and how the Niners beat you in the last game, because they didn't beat you by going offensively crazy. They beat you by controlling the clock, controlling the ball, by getting first down after first down after first down. And they do so by getting into the third makeable situations. And some of it's just on the back of that thing. When they get the in-breaking routes, those are instant first downs. But when they're checking to McCaffrey, he's averaging 9.3 yards per catch. It's not necessarily he's getting a ton of yards. It's just the positivity of the yards is there. And then how do you want to pick it? And so I guess one thing I want to ask you about this to this point, Brendan, is if you know that, let's just go to that simple place in your defensive coordinator. What do you do on that from that standpoint of, if we just try to play this true, he's going to take what we give him. So to me, I come back and say confusion's a big part of this. Stacking boxes a little bit is a bit of the part of this. Squeezing down on the shorter routes and really forcing him to beat you over the top, and then have maybe more of the middle of the field and leave guys one-on-one on the outside to see if they can hold up there. This would be seemingly on the surface of how I would look to maybe attack it, but where would you be on how do we upend this?
Yeah, I'm looking at what McDonald did to this 49ers offense when he was the Ravens DC. And I don't think that anything has radically changed since then. Like, if anything, they're probably worse, right? That game, they had Ayuk. Back then, they actually had a little bit more going on the outside. But simulated pressure, showing stuff, and then backing out of it, giving Brock Purdy a lot to think about at the line of scrimmage. Maybe you're dropping Leonard Williams into coverage on Christian McCaffrey in a couple of plays. Maybe you're dropping guys like Jaron Reed back into coverage and you're sending Ernest Jones, just stuff like that. Remember, if they don't have Trent Williams, that means they got a backup left tackle out there, and that backup left tackle is not going to be quite as in tune on picking up things like that. So I'm looking at all those things that McDonald knows how to do against this Niners offense, and I'm hitting it hard.
Hoping too, maybe Will, that to your question and worry on this is that maybe playing a quarterback in Bryce Young this recent week that's got a lot of similarities to Brock in what he does back there, the scrambling, the working off script, the being elusive in the pocket, the throwing to the checkdowns. I thought that the Seahawks did a great job, their best job of the year this year, of being able to show quarterbacks looks down the field with the coverage, making him feel like he needs to go to the check down. Bryce does a good job. Eye manipulation of looking down the field, forcing you onto the deep drops, and then going over the check down. We always had a rally guy up there in space when it went that way in this game. And it was kind of like we set him up into that trap to sort of take the cheese. And then Mike had that answer in this game. I'm hoping he does so for that, because we know Brock's going to take his share of checkdowns and those throws at the times. And he'll do the same stuff that Bryce does, where he'll try to get you fully feeling like he's trying to push this ball down the field. The whole time, though, he's really inherently wanting to go to the check down. Like it was all part of the plan right from the jump of the snap.
Right. So don't give it up. It's the it's the same kind of thing that you see from It's the same kind of thing you see often from like the Denver offense with Bo Nix. It's the same kind of thing that used to give Pete Carroll fits. And in many ways, games like this is why Mike McDonald was brought in here, to be able to beat a quarterback like a Brock Purdy.
Exactly. And a Shanahan system, which he's proven before he can take down. So, we talked about the Rams and McVay having some success going back to Baltimore days there with McDonald. He's had some success against this Niner team. So, let's see if he can find some answers. You did pretty good week one. You had last year at home, you got kind of beat up on when you're still trying to find your way with the personnel. Second game in San Francisco in a bit of a wet environment, you were able to really handle their offense on that day too. So, 3 of the last 4 times Mike McDonald's defense has played this, be it with Ravens and the Seahawks, they've taken pretty good care of him overall. But I think the worries are valid here, Will. This is why they've been so good, and that they can simplify things offensively against you defensively at times, and force you into giving up something, giving them something. Every defense is going to be to a degree, but this is where disguising and trying to manipulate Brock prior to the snap and what he's seeing is going to be so big in this game, to not allowing him those easy looks. Bronze Sausage, thank you for the $2 donation. It says, do we jump for Diggs? Love y'all. Go Hawks.
I mean, if he's not good enough for the second worst defense in the league, I don't know if he's good enough for us. I don't think Diggs has been good in like a few years now, really.
Is this Quandre Diggs or is this?
No, this is the Diggs Dallas cut earlier today.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, Dallas cut Trayvon Diggs earlier today. They're just going to let him go through waivers, and then if nobody picks him up, he's a free agent.
Okay. Trayvon Diggs.
I might pick him up just to keep him away from the Packers or somebody, but I don't want him.
You're not going to have a waiver priority.
Well, anybody who picks him up on waivers owes him a ton of money, so he's probably going to make it to free agency and just be able to sign with anyone.
Wow, what a fall from grace for a guy that had 11 interceptions in his second year.
He's just all he did was jump routes from zone. Once they figured it out, it was easy.
Yeah, that's and he doesn't like to tackle. He's one of these guys that, you get a wide receiver that's converted to cornerback. We've had this at times with Reek, right? Where it's they have a receiver mindset. They don't really want to tackle. They'll do it begrudgingly. But boy, that's a surprise there for the Cowboys to move off of him, and it's been a weird year there with him. So do we jump on Diggs? I would say probably not when it comes down to this. As Brent says, nobody's going to pick up his contract, so he becomes a street free agent. I would imagine that he tries to probably stay somewhere in the South, went to Alabama. So does he go to a team like, Carolina would be a team to me that would maybe try to make a run at him, or a Jacksonville team might make a run at him out there. I could see kind of one of those kind of teams doing it. I think we'd more want a guy out there that can, I think they put up with Reek a little bit, but I don't think going forward that it's going to be something you're going to need to have. And it was this way with Baltimore, that if you're a corner in this defense, you need to tackle. It's going to be a prerequisite.
Yeah. Maybe the Rams. Maybe the Rams, because
it's a Rams move.
Like Witherspoon anymore.
Yeah, I mean it's, and I don't think Emmanuel Forbes is there like contractually for a long period of time. So
no way.
They certainly ran. And to your point, with Forbes and Ahkello Witherspoon, Rams have no hesitancy when taking on a cornerback who doesn't want to tackle.
Right.
So
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think that he'll move the needle wherever he goes. He's not very good anymore. He hasn't been good for a while.
Yeah, I don't think so either at this point. I'd be very surprised to see this guy. It's kind of the ultimate example of a guy who got paid, shut it down, did just enough to get paid, then shut it down. These are the kind of players you want to be very hesitant about trying to take a run at, especially if there's any kind of cost involved with bringing them in. M. Jordan, thank you for another $10 donation. M. Jordan, let me get a little applause on that for you, man. Thank you for that, bro. I really appreciate it. No matter how this year ends, I hope Clint Darnold get a chance at consecutive seasons. I envy other teams in the league with their franchise quarterback and consistent coaching. I hope we have found that.
I hope so too. I know that there are some people out there that are a little bit down on Kubiak, but I think people need to keep in mind that this is the first year, so some growing pains are to be expected. So even if you have legitimate complaints about Kubiak, which I think there are some, you don't want to be switching offensive coordinators every year for an extended period. So I would love it. I remain skeptical that it will happen because of all the head coach openings that we're going to have.
I would agree with you on this. I think that's well articulated. I think that when I do sometimes sense from the Seahawks fan base is a bit of impatience, and I don't knock them on it. I understand it. I think it's all fan bases have a bit of this at play. But then within that initial scratch of impatience, maybe hold back for a moment and really look at the perspective of it for where this team's at, for how the offense has performed on a whole, how good Kubiak has been. As you say, the frustrations that are there with Kubiak are valid. And I think even from this last game on Sunday, there was some stuff that he did that had me a little frustrated. But the second year of an offensive coordinator in a system, with a team, is always going to be improved and better than what it was in his first year. So if it's already giving you this kind of explosiveness in the first year, you can definitely count on that being even much better into year two. And the same thing would be true, this working kind of in parallel to each other. It's both a Kubiak and a Darnold thing. Darnold having another year in this organization, working with this talent, working with this offensive line, working with the skill position players on the outside. I mean, the connection he had with JSN was instantaneous, but that's only going to get better as we move into future years, the more time he has to practice and play with him. So I know it's not a fun part of this to say, hey, you got to wait for a lot of this stuff to develop further. But I feel like that is the part of times that I think is with so many people so itchy at times of, should we move off of Sam Darnold, make a run at Burrow? Should we move off of Clint Kubiak and go make a run at Mike McDaniels? There's this draw in some of the fan base at times to just pivot off guys way too fast. And I think in this case with both of these two guys, I think M. Jordan is right. I would like to see these two guys have another chance with the second year. I think it will be improved. I think it'll be more efficient. I think it'll be more explosive. I think he'll put up even more points. And if you're top 10 this year, that means probably top 5 next year. So I'm with you. I would love to see the same thing. I think we found a great combination. And I wish 12s would be a little bit more hesitant at times of just wanting to push that button, that eject button. They're like Dr. No with his button that drops the trap door out and drops the guys into the fiery furnace. I feel like they're kind of always over there like,
Yeah. I would say a lot of fan bases are like that, though.
I agree. It's an NFL fan thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Jake Waldman, thank you for the $5 donation, Jake. Appreciate you. Good to see you in the house, bro. AJ Barner has the best touchdown dance in the NFL, and it's not even close.
It is a pretty good one. It's simple, it works.
It is. It's simple. It works. It's unique. To him, it's very tight end kind of, it has a little bit more power to it as a tight end celebration than it would as a wide receiver celebration. But he does indeed. And boy, this guy is, developed for us so nicely. Brendan, as he, we were both there hearing from people when we were drafting him, just a run blocker in 4th round. Why would you do that? And both you and I think we're both on the boat at the time of saying that this guy has pass catching ability. He is not a guy.
I didn't think it was. I definitely didn't think it was going to be like this.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Well, with me, I was a little bit more, maybe not. And again, he's 50 catches. He's having a good year. He's not 1,000 yards here, but I definitely saw a guy that could get 50 catches just because I just thought that there was a little bit of math that you're doing on that Michigan offense. The limited amount of passing attempts that they had, number one. Number two, Colston Loveland's presence as a future first rounder in that offense was going to reduce down the amount of targets that you're going to throw this guy's way. And 19 catches on 25 targets in his final year there in Michigan. And I thought he showed some really soft hands. I think the yards after the catch stuff has been maybe a little bit of the surprising angle of it. I mean, that wiggleness that he's been able to show after the catch has been very cool. But a hell of a development for our Hawks, man.
For me, the route running in college was not very good. He's been a lot better with that in the pros, I feel like, which is surprising to me.
It is to me too. I think as well as this is a little bit of a discussion for the offseason when coming to the tight end position. But, and I think that there's a heavy draw in the NFL right now to be looking for these freak shows at the tight end position, like you saw Seattle doing with Arroyo or like the Rams did with Terrence Ferguson in the second round. I feel like there's a much better pathway to take here to be looking for those guys in the fourth round onwards at the tight end position, that there's better value there to be had. Like you kind of can find a Kittle there. We found once a Will Disley in that area. The Chargers this year with what they did with the kid from Syracuse.
Gadsden,
right? You're getting productivity from that guy. There's always these guys, it seems like, into that territory where you don't have to go up in the second round to grab them, to find a guy who can be fairly dynamic for you as a pass catcher at the tight end position there. On the other hand of this, Brendan, let's see if you're buying into this. I feel like there's a lot of examples in recent years of teams sort of chasing their tail, looking for that prospective guy, and then he doesn't quite become that for what they thought he was going to be for how high they drafted him.
Yeah, you're basically talking about any highly drafted tight end except for Brock Bowers, right? Because you've got Kyle Pitts. Although Kyle Pitts has been good, has been a little bit better than I thought he would be this year.
Took 3 years.
He's not really a tight end though, so it's kind of moot.
Yeah.
But Hawkinson? Who else?
Fant.
Yeah, Fant. I mean, Fant was getting there in Denver, and then something happened.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. It's still a guy though that just like you were. The thought process to Denver draft him was not the production he gave him, and they wouldn't have moved him if they had, otherwise. It was like, well, he's fine, but he's not quite. And that's where we come down. I think just they chased too much of that athletic profile. Arroyo was this way. It wasn't production you were chasing there, right? It wasn't 3 years of college starting experience where he's blocking guys to the nines and he's catching balls here. You had one last year of his final year where he finally got healthy for some of the season, to where it was the athletic profile. It was the GPS testing times. It was routing guys up at the Senior Bowl. It ends up carrying too much damn weight for me. And I think that we really got bit in this last draft. I hope Arroyo develops long-term, but it's not just a Seahawks problem on this. I think it's a little bit of teams trying to be at the forefront, thinking, this tight end position or this tight end hybrid guy is going to be the next big thing in the sport. And if you've got one, then you've got one of the next big things in the sport. And so now's the time to lean into that. Too much lean for my money.
Tyler Warren's nice though. I like what Warren's doing.
Well, Warren's nice, yeah. But I think Warren fits in a line to Brock Bowers type, where these are more guys to me that are like top 10 first round picks that are very easy evaluations. And I'm consistent and you're consistent in this, in that we both love Brock Bowers and we both love Tyler Warren, and we had blue chip grades, I believe, on both of them, or close to blue chip grades on both of them. So it's, that's to me different than the Fant or the Hawkinson, where these guys have much more of the production that's akin to, like, you don't have a lot of college production, but you're trying to project out on them. And when there's too much projection going on with that, where Warren had the productivity, man, the guy had like 50 freaking carries on top of what he did as a pass catcher. And Brock Bowers was carrying that Georgia offense through 2 years. So it's just to me a little bit of an apples to oranges on those guys, because they're kind of true unicorns. Everybody wants to act like there's like 2 or 3 unicorns every year in a draft at the tight end position. And I just don't think there is.
Mm-hmm. Eric Ebron, that's another one I just remembered.
Eric Ebron, yeah. There's been a couple of these, man. I'm telling you, there's been a couple, and I think we got to be a little careful with it. And it's an NFL thing, but Sean McLeodart, thank you for another $2 donation. Sean, is Emanwari an answer for the C-Mac plays?
I mean, the issue with that would be Emanwari doesn't have the greatest change of direction in the world. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit dicey, but in a general sense, I could see him getting involved with that. He's a guy who likes to hang around the line of scrimmage. CMC's a guy who's going to catch a lot around the line of scrimmage. So there's something there.
Yeah, I think that to Brandon's point on this, you're going to kind of fluctuate a little bit on, it's not like you're going to have Ernest Jones matched up with McCaffrey and it's Jones versus McCaffrey, right? It is more of like, it'll take a village a little bit on this and how you're going to do this. There will be some slight times you get Emanwari, times you get Ernest Jones, times there's Drake Thomas out there. I think Imanwari is more going to be matched up with Ricky Pearsall in this game, more than you're going to see him up on C-Mac. The interesting note on this as well is let's also remember with Imanwari that he was basically done 4 defensive plays into the game against San Francisco with an injury in that game. So you did not get him in the first matchup out there. And that did change a lot of how you had to play that game against San Francisco with then Witherspoon getting kicked into the slot. So it was kind of a 2-for-1 as far as how it kind of hurts you positionally wise in that game. But no, I would expect it'll be very intermittent that you might see Imanwari out there on C-Mac. I doubt that they would just line him up and be like, take away C-Mac today. Because then who's covering Parasol out of the slot at that point?
But, it's going to be everybody involved. And obviously CMC is their main offensive weapon. So you're going to want everybody involved on that.
100%. 100%. Takes a village on that, Sean. A good player like McCaffrey, it ain't going to be just one guy, but it's going to take a bit of everybody in there. Let's give a shout out here to the sponsor of the show today, Brendan. It's a good time right now to thank that sponsor if you want to do so while I'm bringing up the stuff.
All right. Well, Sleeper is a great one-stop shop for a lot of sports needs for you guys. Download the app. And if you want to play some daily fantasy over there, remember to use the promo code. We have NEST, that is Nest, or we have SBN. Either code will get you a 100% match up to $100 on your first deposit. Also, they got a $20 free bet you can claim going on right now. Pick over-unders on all kinds of fun stuff. And, hey, if you think you know ball, get on over there and use your ball knowledge to cash in.
Do so today. Like he said, use Nest or Brendan's code, SBN, and they will match you on that. There's also the free $20 no deposit. Just create a login. They'll put $20 right into your accounts. That's $120 from us to you through the Sleeper app. Best app in the game running right now. These are my picks over here on the side. I got Darnold over 239 passing yards, Charbonnet over 41.5 rushing yards, Brock Purdy over 242 passing yards, and then Ricky Pearsall over 3.5 receptions in this game. Brendan, you like those picks?
After watching that Niners-Bears game, I think picking a lot of overs makes a lot of sense.
Boy, does it ever. That's what I allowed to lead me on this one. As I said, I think it's going to be a bit more of the offensive part versus what we got in the first game of the season this year. And I'm expecting you're definitely going to be able to find some headway against this 49er defense, man. They've got some holes.
They're the cure for what ails you.
They are the cure for what ails you. And to your point on that, let's take a look here, Brendan, at some of the statistics from this defense that the Niners are going to run at you. And there's not a lot of good here with what they've dealt with. The injury situation has mounted on this team in a major way this year. 26 in rush EPA per play. So you can run the ball on them at a pretty good rate. But yet teams are passing on the 49ers at the 6th highest rate in the NFL, Brendan. So they can run at them effectively, yet these teams throw on them at this high rate, which just says that, look, we just feel like we could do even more damage in passing, even though we're doing and having success in running the ball. 31st in pressure rate, so they do not get pressure. 30th in most yards on average of separation of routes. So they're allowing the 3rd highest amount of separation on average per yard route run, creating separation. So why are teams throwing a lot? Because they're getting a lot of these easy looks, Brendan, with a lot of separation on the routes, giving quarterbacks a lot of clean reads to make these throws. They are 10th in time to pressure rate. So this is the one interesting part to me on this, Brendan, being that, okay, they're 31st in pressure rate, but when they do create pressure, they do tend to create it fast. So a little bit of the one part with this defense to consider here a little bit on this. Hard to come, but they do bring it in. That Salah's been dialing up some of the stuff here a little bit with some of the creative fronts. They are falling back. This was another part, Brendan, I'm surprised to see. When I looked it up, I thought Salah this year was doing a little bit more blitz stuff, but they're 29th in blitz rate, bro. Kind of unusual.
It's the Robert Saleh way, I guess.
I guess it is. But it definitely was one that I was interested to see. So you're still not getting a lot of blitzing. This falls back to him being a Carroll acolyte as well, right? That the right. Carroll way is not to blitz. So he does give you a lot of the stack bot. He will give you a lot of the simulate pressures here and there. But again, you're going to get a lot of times as well where just a fairly even box, you can roll with it. You're good to go. They're on top of creating the separation on routes. They're also 20th in YAC. So they're bottom 3rd in the league at being able to bring guys down after the catch as well. A lot of openings on this defense, Brendan. They are 30th in stack box rate. So Saleh, as much as anything this year, Brendan, the one thing that I thought was going to be a part of what we would see from Saleh, as far as an adjustment this year, was then finally truly dialing back a little bit from the light boxes and no blitzing. Those are two kind of Carroll hallmarks, Gus Bradley hallmarks, Dan Quinn hallmarks, right? But with Saleh in recent years with the Jets, he had been coming into this year with them willing to do a little bit more blitzing than he had prior. And that's with the better Jets front, more challenges up front that was with Quinn Williams and a couple of the guys off the edge, Jermaine Johnson and whatnot. I'm taking a while to get around to it on this as I'm trying to turn this over in my head. Why do you feel like he has not tried to do some more manipulation there? Is it just not there, do you think, in the heart of a Carroll system? Or do you think that he's like, look, it's not going to be an answer? I mean, it could be just as simple as that.
I mean, I respect Robert Saleh. I think he's a good coach. So when he chooses not to do it, I feel like it's probably for a good reason. And say whatever you want to say, that team has 12 wins. They got 12 wins, so they're doing something. I don't know, though. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? Especially when you lose Bosa. Especially when you lose Warner. You would think those things would amp up your plans to go at it a little bit with something unconventional to try to outsmart the other team. But they won't do it. They won't do it. So I don't have a great answer here. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Honestly, it doesn't make a lot of sense how a team with a defense that bad is winning games, and they might get the 1 seed. It's because it's not like they have the best offense in the league or anything. They've got a good offense. And there is a track record for teams with elite offenses and terrible defenses to do really well in the regular season. But this feels a little bit different. They're not really good at anything defensively.
Mm-hmm. No, they're not. There's nothing for them to sit there and hang their hat on. And is, of course, what drove us crazy about our Hawks defenses at the end there under Carroll, in that you would not try to dial anything up. You just kept kind of trying to run the same stuff out there and thinking that it would eventually work. I wonder if there's a little bit of that at play here with Saleh. And again, to your point, I think Saleh is a very good defensive coordinator. I think he's probably going to get a head coaching job this offseason. But, I think all that stuff a little bit there. But I do kind of go, man, that's a little bit of the oddity I saw in those statistics in this one, Brendan. And you come back to how they've done it. Again, we come back to, we came into this season looking at them and thinking that they had maybe the easiest schedule in the NFL. And I think it has kind of played out that way for them too, has it not?
It hasn't been as easy as we thought. Like it's actually their strength of schedule is like right around the midpoint.
Oh, okay.
So it's been a little bit more difficult, but I mean, think about some of the games they've lost, right? They lost to the Houston Texans. They lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think they lost a game to the Rams, and I can't remember who their other loss was to. Tampa Bay, back when Tampa Bay was playing pretty good. So generally speaking, when they played the better teams, they have kind of lost. Like they did beat Seattle and they beat LA. Those are the really good teams they've beaten, right? But other than that, no, they lost to Jacksonville. Jacksonville beat them. Remember, that was the game where Saleh...
Oh, they did. My bad. Sorry, you're right. I'm bad.
Yeah, that was the game where Saleh got all mad at Cohen for stealing his signals or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I remember that game now. Yep.
Yeah. So their schedule hasn't been easy, but when they've been tested, they've done a lot of losing.
They have. It's true. It's there's not really the signature there wins on there, and it just makes it make a little bit more sense for some of the statistics we're seeing here from them defensively.
Right.
Teams are rushing at the third highest rate on inside runs in the NFL, and then 29% on outside runs. So part of my prediction, Brendan, was Zach Charbonnet this week is not simply Zach coming off of the game that he had last week and they're going to keep up with him on that. Part of this comes down to me as I think about this I watched some of the film again from that first game this morning and prepping up for the show. And the wide 9 stuff is still being utilized by the San Francisco 49er front, where it's, 4 guys down the line of scrimmage and you're really stretching the bodies out on that 4-man front. They want to get that extra width. So within that extra width, what you're going to get is an ability to defend that outside zone stuff a little bit better. Hence why teams are running at a low rate on outside zone runs against them. But then what that does give you is so many natural creases there that you can then go in there and exploit, especially getting downhill into the A and the B gap. And that's where, as I come into it from a Seahawks standpoint, that you want to attack. They tried a little bit, the Niners did in that first game of the year, of you'd go 4 down linemen, stretch them out, and they put a 5th guy down there on the line of scrimmage, kind of like the old Sam linebacker with Bruce Irvin down there and kind of giving you that extra big body down there. But if they stretch it out like that, Brendan, from my standpoint, you got to get downhill in this game and find a way to really do what we've not been able to do since Shanahan's arrived, which is really punish that wide 9 scheme, because it just naturally is one where there are some openings there.
So the game might come down to the interior offensive line. So that's not a great. That's not something I feel stellar about, admittedly. But I mean, you're right. You're right. That is how you attack this defense. So we got to just hope those guys have it. And I will say this: I think Jalen Sundell might be coming off his best game as a Seahawk. I thought he was really good against Carolina on Sunday. So maybe he's starting to find himself. I know Zabel was graded well by PFF. I don't totally understand why. I don't think he played that well, but maybe we're finding a little something in there, and this game would be a great chance for them to prove it.
It would, and definitely don't get away from it. Don't get too pass happy in this approach in this game. Feel like you've got to throw the ball. If the rushing yards are there, stay with it like this last week. To me, Brendan, where we found consistency in the Carolina game right from the jump. And if you do in this game out the jump, find that consistency in running the ball. Stay with it. Don't leave it voluntarily because you feel, and this is Kubiak sometimes, where he'll leave stuff voluntarily because he feels he has to diversify stuff up. Force them to stop it. Force them to show that they can, honestly take it away from you. I would really like to see that in this game, and I especially know Fred Warner out there, who has been such a problem for us in defending the run specifically against us. This is where, to me, you can make some headway out there.
Right. I that Fred Warner thing looms large because the next time we play the Niners, he'll be there. So take advantage now.
You got to take advantage now. And that last week, the last game we played on him, 17-13, the one touchdown that we scored in that game was when Fred Warner, remember, he got hit in his, like a foot came up here and he had to just go off the field for one series because he was bleeding, and you went down there and you scored. And you scored, by the way, with Zach Charbonnet getting downhill on that drive a lot. Remember, we had a couple successful runs on that drive with Zach when you were making no other headway and running the ball. So this is where I come back to in this game of just, if I'm Kubiak, I'm looking at that specific drive going, we need to go back to a little bit more of that type of stuff for this weekend in how we look to attack. Is there any of the spots with this defense from the San Francisco's point of view that you look at that are specific things that you want to test, that you want to attack, that you think are going to be places where they're going to be a little bit, I know they're weaker personnel-wise, but just weaker in general?
Well, I mean, I'm still looking at that secondary, especially if they got no Upton Stout. What does that force them to do with DeCommodore Lenore? Obviously, the Niners lost Javarius Ward, so to me, that secondary lost a lot of its gusto when he left because he was really good and he was a legitimate outside corner they had. So I am definitely thinking, okay, I know our pass catchers are a little bit thin right now. Got JSN, half a Cooper Kupp, and AJ Barner, but I do want to test that secondary a little bit because I feel like you can beat that.
Yeah, I do as well. I think that there's certainly going to be some weaknesses in there that you can go after. Malik Mustafa is going to be playing this game. He wasn't out there in the first game. They had Marquez Siegel as their starter, so he's a hitter. He gets downhill in the run game. He's a good tackler. He's got some pop in his pads. One other part I want to talk about the offense that I think is going to be an important part of this too, and that I saw in the tape a lot of this morning when I was watching the tape. The Niners knew where our run game was going in that first matchup. I don't know if it's because they run outside zone in the same running system, and so the defensive players practice against it 24/7 and they know where it's going kind of before the snap. But I mean, Warner's pointing it out. Warner's taking steps towards where the run play is going at times in that game. I think what you got to do from a Clint Kubiak standpoint in this game is run a lot of misdirection, is run a lot of like getting that Niner team to flow one way and then hit them back the other way. This might be the week for a trick play, quite frankly, because they were really loading into the direction of where they thought the run game was going in that first matchup and taking a lot of what I'd call cheat steps into the direction of where they thought the run play was going. And if you were able to hit them with some kind of misdirection where it's like, well, it looks like outside zone, but we come back with a fly sweep this other way, I'd like to see a little bit more of that at the centerpiece of our attack this week against this scheme.
Yeah. Honestly, you look back at that first game, it kind of feels like that week one game is often like an extension of the preseason. So, not everything's implemented, especially when you got a new offense. First game with Kubiak, first game with Darnold, first game with Kupp, first game, et cetera, et cetera. Like the offense that we have right now should be a completely different monster from the offense we had in that game. So I imagine some of the things that you're talking about should be there for us that were not there last time we played them. So yeah, I'm all for that. I love that idea.
Yeah, just kind of work it in there, keep them honest, because I don't like that cheat step stuff. You start cheat step, and I should be able to attack you on that, especially if I see you doing it play in and play out again and again and again in the run game. Anything else on the defense that's worthy of note here, or what you'd like to see on this?
Yeah, I mean, I've already kind of employed it, but I really want to see Cooper Kupp have a clean game.
Yeah.
Last couple games, he started to look like maybe this is the end of the line. I need him to not have a vintage Cooper Kupp game. Like, that's ridiculous. He's never going to do that. But just have a clean game. There are going to be a lot of opportunities for him in this game because of all the injuries. He might get the ball thrown his way 6 or 7 times. Like, we need him to just be clean and come through. No drops, no fumbles. This is kind of the moment that you have a Cooper Kupp for. So I'm really hoping that when this game ends, I'm not angry at Cooper Kupp for anything because he messed something up. So that's one thing I really have my eye on.
Well, to your point, I think that a Super Bowl run, there's a lot of different little details of what you need to have go on for a Super Bowl run to happen. But I think as important a detail as anything else for a Super Bowl run to occur is that you find diversification in the passing attack, and that you can find it's not just in needing to hit JSN on 15 targets a day, but that you're finding those 5-6 targets to Cooper Kupp, and the 3 or 4 or 5 targets out there to Shaheed, and 3 or 4 targets on in there to Barner. And you're able to really distribute the ball over the place and not allow defenses in the playoffs to pin down and to sort of lean in on the one thing you want to try to just keep hammering and spamming to the nth degree. So I think it's an important point, not just this Niner game, but as we carry it forward. And last week, those 2 dropped, almost had 1 intercepted, dropped a touchdown pass. And come on, Cooper, these are the kind of stuff that after last week with the Rams, with the fumble and how that upended things, like, come on. Come on. You don't have to go out there and be vintage Kupp, but we need you to be steady. We need to be able to rely on your hands. And that's got to come forward in a game like this where those kind of plays can make a difference.
Yeah, this might be the end of his career. He might retire after this year for all we know.
Very well, and Seattle's got a tough decision with him as they go down. I think he's provided some great leadership. I think he helps out a lot in the locker room, and there's some things that he provides value-wise that go out beyond his production on the football field, but that's an $18.5 million cost next year. That's an $18.5 million cost. You got Rashid Shaheed contract that you maybe potentially have to sign here. So, it's something. Let's go over here to the 49ers offense on this one, Brendan. A little bit better for the Niners standpoint of things. This is a team that is 15th in rushing EPA per play, so middle of the road. They are 12th in allowing pressure on the good side of it, so they're one of the better teams in the league at keeping their quarterbacks pretty clean. And what's interesting about this thing, Brendan, and looking at the stat is I thought with this one, absently not looking at the statistics, I would have just said without saying on this, Brendan, that well, they definitely are a team that gets the ball out of their hand fast. Mac Jones played a lot of the games this year. Brock, with what he does by large, gets the ball out of their hands quick, right? But then you look at the stat, 2.94 seconds to throw, 27th in the NFL. I mean, that's almost into Russell Wilson territory as far as holding on to the ball goes.
Is that maybe because Purdy scrambles around a lot?
It is, but the whole thing that was being told to me by Jesse when I was talking to him on the roundtable and asking about Brock is that Brock had this problem at the end right before he got injured where when he first got into San Francisco, all on time, right? He had 4 receivers in the top 15 that were creating separation. So he's hitting his back foot, bang, hitting his back foot, bang. The longer he played, the more comfortable he played, the more off script he started to lean into. And that started to cause problems within the Niner fan base because this was leading to interceptions and wayward throws and too late. You're trying to make something happen rather than just playing within the context of the offense, right? And then Mac Jones comes along and he looks actually better than Purdy did early on in the year, and in large part because he's just executing the offense and just staying within the confines of it. And then since Brock came back, the Niners and what fans have been telling me and what I was hearing from Jesse is that, okay, yeah, he's gotten himself back into more playing on that time thing. But to your point, you don't get to 2.94 seconds unless you're holding on to the ball a good amount. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a little bit of what's happening here. And I think that this is kind of a bit of a key here in the respect of we are a team that does generate a lot of pressure, Brendan, but we are a slow to generate pressure team. So to me, on the outlook of that, I would say that it works kind of in our favor on this one. Brock's got the escapability, but him holding that ball a little extra long, that works good for us to be able to generate the pressure, the kind of pressure that we do generate.
Yeah, I do like that. If that number is indeed accurate, which to your point, it sounds like it can't be right, but I assume that these numbers are solid. So I don't really know how to explain that. Like I'm thinking about that Bears game where there are definitely plays where Purdy's using his mobility to buy time, very, very effectively. So maybe it all adds up, but a lot of plays where he gets it out within 2 seconds.
He does. And there is a lot of that scripted stuff out there that you can't deny, is in there, but it was one of the more surprising stats to me with their offense, that they were in that territory. Not something I would have guessed when I walked into this going, yeah, they're definitely holding on the ball. Double check and make sure. Yeah. 2.94, man. They're the sixth longest time that they hold on to the ball in the NFL. Do the Niners in the pocket on that side of it. Probably could be a little bit too, Brendan, that they offensively have to get stuff done. So it's like you have to score every time. A little bit more of we got to every time be making sure with our defense, and that you're holding the ball at times in those moments a little bit extra long to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
The Niners are being blitzed at the 27th highest rate in the league, so they're very infrequently being blitzed.
Makes sense.
And makes sense. While Seattle, of course, is the second highest rated team in the NFL offensively and how high they get blitzed.
Right.
They are 28th in average target separation, so a lot of contested catches. Juwan Jennings is not creating a lot of separation. He's going to catch those contested catches, but it's in general what you get from this offense in large. I think Kendrick Bourne is a lot of that way too. Interesting there on that. They are 28th in play action, Brendan. Some of these stats just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
28th in play action. I was like, wow, so that one's right there with me on the seconds to throw, right?
Yeah, I guess that, I don't even really know how to justify that one. That seems bizarre. Like, you'd think
Totally
one of the
bizarre.
best OCs in football would want to use play action just because play action is good.
Yeah, it's rocking great this year in particular, right? Like, this is the year where it's been, used well. So, another strange one there. In their play action usage. Don't know what to make of that a little bit there on that. They are pretty good in yak. You got some guys that can do some things after the ball, of course, Kittle and McCaffrey. They got some guys that can kind of get some stuff done there. 32nd in highest light box usage rate. So they are not stacking the box against this football team, Brendan. What do you make of that? A lot of oddities in these stats, huh? I was the same way as you. I was like, I know we got to come away with some analysis on this, but some of this stuff just doesn't quite 2 + 2 = 4, does it?
So they like the light box, even though the Niners have never had Brandon Ayuk. I don't know. It's like a Jedi mind trick by Shanahan. He gets these teams to play right into his hands.
Yeah, I just don't know if this is that teams are scared to run stack boxes against him because they think that he's going to have answers and Brock Purdy's going to have answers there. But this would have been the one place that, if considering no Ayuk, considering the wide receiver core has been what it's been for the Niners this year, considering Kittle's been out for a good amount of this year, I would have thought that the counter to that by defenses in general terms would be to stack that box up. But that's not been the case. And 32nd in the light box usage. And odd, because again, we got an offense that's having success off the back of this approach by these defenses. So we come back to again on like, wouldn't you just eventually try something different collectively here and there? I don't
get that one. That one doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's kind of like how the Rams get blitzed a lot, even though theoretically you shouldn't really want to blitz them very much.
It's true.
I don't know. The only thing I can think of is, I go back to this a lot. Coaches in the NFL are stubborn. They think something's going to work, and they're going to ignore a lot of evidence to the contrary.
There are. I will say, though, at least to your point on this, with it, like with us, we've seen the transition with us here in the back half of the schedule where we're going to, early on the season, stack the box, condense splits, blitz you a ton. And now we've seen a lot more into this back half of the schedule. These teams owning up to a little bit more of the lighter boxes, dropping the 7 into coverage. This transition hasn't occurred seemingly with the Niners. And maybe the week that we trot a little bit of that out, we got the stack boxes, Brendan. We bring the man coverage concepts from last week, right? Can you see the vision?
Yeah, give them something they haven't seen all year. Give them something that worked really well against them a couple years ago. I don't see why not, man. What am I missing here?
I don't. It seems pretty straightforward on this one that this be the way you want to go with it. That's for sure. Last point on this was 25th in rush percentage inside the NFL, 11th in rush percentage to the outside. They're an outside zone scheme, Brendan. So, no surprises here, and that this is a team that's going to, for the most part, try to work what they're going to do to the outside. They maintain a little bit of balance, but Brendan, you're going to get the outside zone, and that's good for us. I think it's more of the teams
Yeah.
that are going to be determined to run inside against us. They'll be more troublesome. The outside gives us time to rally.
Yeah, I feel like there have been moments in the last few games where you've seen our defensive line get kind of driven back in the trenches, and some teams have been able to have some success running up the middle. Not
Yeah.
tremendous success, but a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that the Niners are less of a threat to do that.
To your point, last two opponents you faced, Rico Dowdle with Panthers, and then the Rams there with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. Two teams that are very dedicated to staying inside in the rushing attack, and that they will live there a little bit more often on that. So first game of the year, 36 carries, 119 yards for the Niners in that game. They only averaged 3.3 yards per carry throughout. 13 was their longest rushing attempt. I think we'll do a good job of being able to kind of match that in this game, especially as we are pretty strong personnel-wise with on the injury front there. And that does bring us to the plan of attack to this offense, Brendan, understanding these numbers. And like you mentioned, McDonald's had some success going back to Baltimore, had some answers. He gave Purdy maybe the worst game of his career in that game that Baltimore had in San Francisco 2 years ago. I'd like to first hear what your plan of attack is, but what do you take away? What do you risk allowing to the San Francisco offense?
I think you risk allowing the deep shots. I think you don't worry so much about stuff down the field, and you try to take away the short stuff. You look at what the Bears didn't do, and you do the opposite, right? That whole game, Brock Purdy hits his back foot, gets it out to CMC, gets it out to Jake Tongs, gets it out, sometimes going intermediate over the middle to Jawan Jennings. I'm trying to take that away, and I'm going to let Purdy hit some deep shots down the field if he feels so inclined. But I'm not going to just let him pick us apart underneath the whole game. That's my main focus right now.
I'm the same way. I don't want to die by him being able to just sort of dink and dunk his way through this. If he's going to make some big throws down the field and he could do that, I think that we did a little bit of this in the first game, quite frankly. I think that this is also why you had the 2 interceptions in that game in the first matchup. I think if Rick Woolen had not forgotten his ball skills on the last drive, that he might have had another pick in addition to that on the day, where that Tongas throw is just thrown up for grabs, basically. Right. It's a prayer. So I do think that this was what they did also execute in the first matchup, and that, Brock's a good overall quarterback. I think that he's probably in that right around that top 10-ish area of things, especially in this offense with Shanahan. And so he's going to make some throws over the course of the game to get you. But to your point on this, I think I'm going to trust that he's going to be able to make those throws first through fourth quarter, take away the things he likes to do in his bread and butter. And okay, so he hits you on a couple of the throws, but the part of this too, Brendan, on this that's a factor is what you can do offensively against that defense, right? And that if I know I have an offense that's going to be able to probably dog walk that defense up and down the field by and large throughout the course of the day, that much more I'm willing to be able to be risky defensively and not be as worried about paying the price on the deep shot. Panthers last week, big part of their bread and butter of their offense there is the deep shots. Bryce wants to go down the field. So you took that away. You said, no, we're not giving you that today. And so I do hope that they do lean into that in this game. I think they did in the first game, and I think you can find some similar success where, okay, maybe he throws for 277 yards again, but you're probably going to come out of it with 2 or 3 interceptions, and that probably is the difference in the game at that point.
Right. I'm totally down with that. I am taking away anything down the field. I don't think the Niners are built to take a lot of downfield shots anyway, so if they want to try some, then bring it on. Kind of wish we had Kobe Bryant for a game like this, I will admit. I think this would be a game where maybe he would get a pick. But I'm down with it. I am completely down with it, and just make him have to think about things. Make him have to think about things for more than half a second.
Indeed, definitely, indeed. Gotta make him process back there and keep him contained in the pocket. It's going to be another big part of this with his elusiveness and ability to break free and extend plays. And it's a tough part about playing a quarterback like this. You saw in the game against the Bears the other night when they wanted to run. You don't blitz a lot in the Seattle Seahawks standpoint. You run your 4-4 a lot. When you do that, you're going to want to mix it up front and run some games, right? And specifically, the games you're going to want is going to be stunts and loops. And you saw when the Bears ran a stunt and they take that edge and they have him running inside, it just opens up that backside tackle play for Purdy to just run right out and through and go take the free run, And so it sort of ends up his mobility and elusiveness sort of ends up limiting you down on the stunts and the twists you can run, and you got to run a little bit more traditional just front 4 at him. That's where I come down to a little bit more of the stack boxes, even mixing in some of that blitz there to just constantly giving him different looks there and never giving him so that sort of same look play after play after play could be really beneficial in a game like this.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's all the stuff that we know McDonald can do, and it's a big reason why he's here. Like, I am sure that when they decided to hire McDonald, that game against Purdy that he had 2 years ago was a big part of what they were looking at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he's got a nice baseline now of different games and trying different certain things stylistically and how they attack Brock. And so hopefully he's got a good measure of it. I feel like he will, though. It seems like Mike, just the more data you give Mike, the better. That he will figure it out if I could give him that stuff to kind of work with. But we will see on this. Seth K. Aloha. Thank you for another $5 donation. There's no excuses for this game. Niners are missing key pieces. Hawks are the better team. Sack up and win.
I think there's some truth here. I think right now Seattle's got a better roster. I think right now Seattle is probably playing a little bit better overall football. And by the way, I know Seattle has problems these last few weeks. Believe me, the offense is not what it was earlier in the year, but San Fran has problems too. Believe me, like I guarantee you that pretty much any team out there, like whatever problems you think your team has, the fans of the other teams out there think they have problems too, at least as many. So I do agree that we're in a position where we should win this game. And if we don't, I'm not going to say I'm going to lose all faith for the playoffs or anything like that, but it will be a little bit of a moment where I realize, okay, I don't think we're quite at the top of the mountain yet.
I think that's a fair outlook of it. I do. I think that this, and I agree with Seth on this. It's you're down Fred Warner, Nick Bosa. Those are their two most important defensive players, maybe two of their top four most important players, just bottom line. We've got Zabel out there rocking left guard. Their top 12 pick is out for the year, and Mykel Williams. They've got a couple of other corners on the back end from Upton Stout to Ricardo Green that could be out of this game. Probably no Trent Williams, and the huge loss that is. And that Spencer Buford is not a guy that's a huge drop off from one to the other. And then Kittle as well, where even if he plays, he's nowhere near 100%. And then even having a guy like McCaffrey who is playing, Brendan, who's got 400 touches on his body walking into this game, and no Brandon Ayuk. I think that walking into this game for what we thought this game could look like at the end of the year, even if our teams were really good and that challenge it would pose to the Seahawks team, you can't ask for things to be better set up for you to have success this upcoming Saturday from their injury situation. Doesn't guarantee this is still a good team. I'm not underselling the Niners. I think Shanahan's done some of his best work. They've been able to just have guys fill in and still maintain really high level play. But I do feel like, considering how good your health situation is on the counter side of this, not to mention how well you play throughout the course of the year and overall, I just feel like that this is as much a determining factor in this game as anything else.
Yeah. Go get it done. There really should not be excuses. Like if a bunch of injuries happen in the middle of the game, that's one thing. But where I sit right now, there should not be much of an excuse to do anything other than go out there and take care of business.
Amen. Like you say, Kaloha, sack up and go get it done. This is set up for you to do this. And this has been a year where a lot of things have been set up right for us to get it done. And the team's taken advantage of that. So finish the process, complete this season, get that number one bye, and you're setting yourself up so well for these playoffs. You do so. And again, to Brendan's point, if you're unable to do it, it's a little bit of a question at that point of, boy, we're in roll the dice mode about the type of team we might get into the playoffs week in and week out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But get this dub, man. Just by any means necessary, make it happen. OEL, thank you for another $5 donation, OEL. Appreciate all your support today. What are the chances that Shaheed clears concussion protocol and is healthy to play?
I'll go with like 15%. I just don't think it's very likely. Concussions usually cost you a game. We're on a short week. I'll go 15%.
I'll go 40% just because I think everything Brendan said was correct. But just that because this is a game that has a little bit more on the line, that maybe there's some shenanigans in the background to kind of make it happen.
I would hope not. Like it's a contract year. He's got to protect himself, and we need him for the playoffs.
I feel you there, but I mean, if I'm in Shaheed's standpoint and the head's feeling good Thursday, Wednesday, and it's feeling all right, I'm gonna be like, I could also earn myself a lot of money by finishing off with a couple of strong performances at the end of this year as well. Like, have I earned, is the money in the bank for me? Is that check already just there for what it's going to be? Or is there a way for me to add another $10, $20 million onto my payday by finishing this season outright? That'd be a little bit of a question if I was Shaheed sitting there on that. Not to say that he isn't going to get a contract, but just how much of the contract where it's at. So yeah, we'll see. But I get it. 15%, you're right. Short weeks, to Brennan's point. These guys don't tend to be able to come back around that fast. It tends to be you need that one extra day to really clear the protocol.
Right.
But Mike hasn't ruled them out as well, Brennan. So there is that as well. Roy Frolic, thank you for another $5 donation today, Roy. Very kind of you, man, on my side of it. And he says, does anyone know what the Vegas odds are? It's almost a pick'em game, Roy.
Yeah, I
Almost
think
a pick'em
Seattle's
game.
currently favored by 1.5.
1.5. So it's they tend to, Roy, they'll give the home team, when it's balanced between two teams, 3 points. They're kind of telling you with Seattle here, okay, we do think they are a little bit better there. Them putting us and giving us the nod on that, I think, is interesting, because Vegas has not always been super kind to us this year on some of these bets. But
they always try to. The line is a reflection of how people are betting at this point, right?
That's true as well.
It's out of
Yeah,
Vegas'
good
hands
point.
at this point. So what's probably happening is a lot of people are like, oh, the Niners, they don't have Bosa, they don't have Warner, they don't have Kittle, they don't have this guy. They probably saw CMC getting his back worked on in that game, and they're betting against the Niners because they're like, who are the Niners even going to have? So it makes sense.
Makes a ton of sense. Absolutely does. So almost a pick'em game by Vegas's outlook of it, but like Brent says, probably as much pushed by the money and where that's going. If there was less money being put on Seattle, it'd probably be a 3-point game, because they'd look at it, Vegas, and say, well, two even teams give 3 points the home field advantage to the one team, but money can move the line. That is for sure. But thank you, Roy. I appreciate all of your support here on the channel, and everyone's support today on the channel. We had a ton of 28 donations today on the channel. So thank you guys all for that grade A support. If you guys can for us today, hit that like button, whether you be watching on Seahawks Brendan Nelson's side or over here on the Hawks Nest, hit that like button, sub on up as well. It's free. And we'd really, really appreciate it. All right, well, let's get this to the closing down time on this one, Brendan, and let's get to the finality of how we see this game going. I want to not just have a final score for you. I want you to predict, how is this game going to go and play out, and then give me a final score.
Probably another slow start, kind of a low-scoring first half. A little bit frustrating, I imagine it'll be, like a lot of games have been for Seattle recently. But I think in the second half, things work out. I think by the time the second half rolls around, we're moving. I'm going to go 30-23. 30-23.
Kind of in the same place. I do think there's going to be a bit of a feeling of out of each team through the first kind of quarter and a half as they're trying to figure out what they're going to do there. I do think, like you've seen our offense eventually get clicked in, that's going to happen. I think you're going to find more consistency in running the ball, which will help the offense throughout this game. You'll get some of that explosion from the offense at a given point in this game, and that'll take you up over the top. I'm going to go 31-17. I just think this defense is in too rough of a shape, down too many bodies. I think they've had an easier schedule to be able to feast on some teams, both teams that are not as good or have bad defenses, one or the other, or both. And that's made this thing look a little bit better offensively, is able to carry the load more than it can. But it's still to be said on this, that despite my confidence us winning this game, man, this is a team that's had our number like the Rams have. And until you can kind of take this team down, you're not really ready to go and be that contender until you can prove you can take this down. So not only is it for the number one seed to me, but back to your point on this and getting confidence, engendering confidence for the playoffs, this could really cement that confidence, get you that number one bye to, okay, we finally have found the solution here. We have finally found a little bit of an answer here, especially with how the Niners are just so weakened.
Yeah, and remember, Darnold was in this exact same spot last year with the Vikings, right? Playing for the division week 18 against a team that had already beat him. And he kind of sucked in that game. So he's got his own little demon to conquer.
Got his own demon to conquer. Sam's got to play a clean game in this one, in my opinion, on the road. This is one where the interceptions and the turnover-worthy plays and play a clean game, execute the offense, you're going to probably win this game. It's not going to be a requirement of you probably having to be like Caleb last week and throw for 350 to try to etch this one out. Your defense is going to get the job done. Your special teams is going to get the job done. And Niners have a fairly solid special team. Sky Moore is going to be a problem as a kick returner back there that we're going to have to, kind of deal with. But beyond that, I think you absolutely can just kind of stay in the pocket in this game from a Darnold perspective, play within yourself, use your legs at times, take the check down throws as he has at times in recent weeks since that Rams game is a little bit at the forefront. Try not to do too much when late in the plays, things are just not happening. Be willing to kind of throw it away, be willing to kind of get to the next play. If Sam can kind of stay in that mindset, he's not going to have to do too much in this game, throwing dime after dime to go get the win. A little bit like Caleb had to do last week, I think, for the Bears to get it done. And I think you get the job done here.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, man. I feel like we can do this. I really do.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I do. Jordan's going to finish up with a final $5 donation. Thank you for that, Jordan, and all of your support today. A little plug. You got a couple of donuts today on the show. Really appreciate you for that. He says, Matt Stafford seems to be turnover prone when asked to throw a lot.
Well, I think last night might have been the first game all year where he's had multiple turnovers, so I don't know.
I think this is a thing about what Stafford's been historically speaking, even going to the Rams. And I do think it's a fair point on this. I have maintained it. I think it's this way as well. The Rams in the last 2 years, Brendan, have, with the investment of the beef on the offensive line and really the dedication to running the ball, my feeling on this has always been what they're trying to do from a standpoint of tactically with Stafford in this offense is we want Stafford throwing the ball about 27 to 30 times a game. It's kind of ironic because we say the same thing about Sam Darnold, and they're trying to kind of do the same thing. I know Stafford makes a lot of pretty throws and beautiful throws, and so it's like, well, but they're still trying to keep him down. And I think the Rams do that purposely because McVay understands if I go from 30 attempts to 40 attempts with Stafford, I'm probably getting a couple of throws in there where he's trying to fit a ball in too tight that he can't quite fit, that he's going to put in harm's way. And that's why they're trying to stay in that kind of money spot of 27 to 30 attempts. So I do think, Jordan, that if you can take away the running game, force him into more having to be at a high volume passing approach mode for a football game, you're probably going to get 2 throws thrown your way. Now, you drop those throws, he's still going to be mightily effective around the rest of it. He's going to throw for a gazillion yards around the rest of it because he's got the 40 attempts. So you've got to catch the ball when it's in your hands. But It stood out to me with even us. I know he's 0 for 1 for 6 or whatever, but even those games at times that we've lost, you can go back and look at it having a couple times where it hit your defenders in the hands and you didn't take the pick. You didn't make the game-changing turnover like you could have.
Right. I remember talking about this. Sometimes it's just that simple.
It is, and it's as much because how great a player he is, Jordan, because he's going to make so many great throws around those throws and great decisions around those throws that you got to then take full advantage on the very few times you do get with it. And that's part of what makes him such a good player is that he doesn't give you a lot of outs in order to conquer him. He's only going to give you very few methods to be able to take him out and take him down, including just flat out outscoring him, Brendan, as we did 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But thank you, Jordan.
I think most quarterbacks become turnover prone when asked to throw a lot. There aren't that many that are able to keep that balance.
Especially right now with the cover 2 shell and the flipping of coverages pre to post snap, which is just confusing every quarterback in the book right now, right? Like that's just naturally going to lead to that. As people like to hammer up on Darnold on the turnovers. And, you notice what they have to do with that, Brendan, as we finish up here. You know that what they have to do when they really hammer him on the turnovers is they have to get to the fumble stuff, right? Because if they just look at just the interceptions, kind of, I think you mentioned this last week on the show, it's kind of all pretty much in about the same alignment with starting quarterbacks that have played 17 games through the season, right? 16 games through the season up to this point.
Yeah,
he's not.
And again, when you look at it historically, like the league leaders in interceptions are a mismatch of the worst QBs and the best QBs. Like, yeah, you've got your bad quarterbacks up there or your, new quarterbacks that are learning on the job, but guys like Mahomes and Josh Allen are constantly up in the top interception list. So it's just one of those things where there's not a lot of correlation is what I'm trying to say.
And I think sometimes fans make that correlation to your point, right? Like they try to make that be this thing that carries this big, huge weight and should be this sort of determiner of this position's success or not. And it probably should not be the case.
Yeah, there's a reason why Tyrod Taylor's never played in a playoff game.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, folks, we thank you again for watching today. We had well over, I think, about 600 people in the chat today, Brendan. So they are turned on for the playoff intensity. We don't have to get you guys amped up. You're ready and good to go. If the game was today, you'd be certainly happy for that to occur. I know everybody is cooked, and it's been a tremendous season for me and Brendan to be able to do this with you guys. We've been able to finally really have a chance to cover a team that's a contender, that's got potentially a foot away from greatness right now, Brendan. And you win this week, man, and it's 3 wins. You win this week and it's 3 wins in a row. That's all you need to go get a Super Bowl championship in 2025. And it's right there for the taking. This team has done everything, set themselves up for this place. Now they just got to complete the process. They can get it done, man. This is going to be a huge advantage to this team to have that bye and go into this playoffs and have a team potentially out almost full health holding up, God willing, in this game. Boy, that'd be huge.
Yeah. It's 2 of those games would be at home if you win this one as well. So go get it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Last dono here from Casey. Yo, thank you for the $2 donation, Casey. Any thoughts on need to keep Purdy contained?
I mean, we kind of discussed this when we were talking about the Niners offense in general, but again, I'm going to say it again. Mike McDonald was brought here by and large because we needed to figure out how to stop this Niners offense, and he showed he could do it when he was in Baltimore. So, it's one of those things where this is the big moment for him, right? And look, I'm not going to say I'm going to be done with Mike McDonald if we lose, but what I am saying is that this is kind of why he's here.
Yeah, containing him and hopefully limiting the off-script stuff with him, Casey, is going to be big. I think Brendan's point to McDonald is an important one here, and that what can McDonald do prior to the snap to give Purdy looks for this to be one way and then give him a different look post-snap? How can you maybe utilize the stack boxes to really be able to then make him think a blitz is coming, but then it isn't? I think that you're going to be removing out, as I talked about earlier on this, Casey, like some of the twists and stunts and loops you want to do when you tend to want to run four-man pressure looks. Then you're going to want to run a lot of stunts and loops off that throughout the course of the game intermixed in. There'll be a lot more of, I think, just traditional pass rushes from the front four in this game. There'll be a lot of the mush rush off the edges where you're maintaining your outside shoulder so that Purdy doesn't have the backdoor escape out of the pocket. There'll be some of that you build in, but some of this as well is that you don't want to reinvent, change your whole defense around in order to just simply accommodate around his mobility and the way he can scramble. Some of this is he's going to get you a couple times over the course of the game with it, but some of it as well is that you've got to let these guys kind of go crazy, I think, Brendan, a little bit in their ability to rush the passer, especially when I have a Spencer Buford out there instead of a Trent Williams. I can get after some guys in pass protection on the San Francisco 49er offensive line. And that means that I got to let my guys kind of be a little bit loose and free in how they get to the quarterback too. And you can get a little bit too much boxed into the containment zone of things on a quarterback at times and limiting your pass rushers if you make that too much of a point of emphasis for one particular player.
Mm-hmm. Right. So he's going to get us a couple times and it's okay.
Yeah. In general terms, yes, Casey. I mean, just it's not the whole point of the emphasis, or it's a minor point of your wanting to be aware of and how you call the game defensively from McDonald's standpoint. But we come back to, why you brought him here and what you hope his defense can do, which is to go from what was formerly an old defense that was very predictable and that a quarterback could read what he was seeing prior to the snap and know it was going to be true post snap, to a defense that's going to flip all that on its ear. And that should make it so much harder for offenses to find success. You limit him down to 21 something points in the first matchup. So he did pretty good. He's done good overall here. Just got to keep it going this week. And boy, we need Mike McDonald to come up with a great game plan this week against this Niner offense.
Yep. It's a great test, man. It's a great way for this NFC West race to come to a head.
You couldn't ask for a better storybook, Brendan. You really couldn't. We couldn't have drawn it up this offseason better. You finally got to take down that Rams team a couple weeks ago and conquer that monster that's just been able to take you down over and over. You got another one this week. And not only is it to take them down to say, oh, we're a team arrived on the scene. We're a team that's here and ready to make some noise. But to take them down for the number one bye, to set the stage for a beautiful playoff run, Brendan, brother, we couldn't ask for better. We couldn't ask for better. We might be in football heaven, brother.
Yeah. I'm ready for it.
Maybe 2012 really did end the year, and we're just in heaven right now, and it's just we haven't caught up yet. It's like The Lost.
Hope not.
I hope not too, man. But this has been one hell of a year. I'll tell you that in that part where it's just been so cool to see how this thing is shaken out. And that where the expectations were, where Vegas had us, where a lot of the fan base was at, to where we are now. Just as I always say over and over again, I don't have to tell you. I know you know it, but just remind all those out there in the audience: savor this, enjoy this. You don't get to run on this ride very often.
Yeah, don't wait 10 years to understand how cool this is. Understand how cool it is right now.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Well, I thank you guys for watching today. Again, if you can, hit that like button. Please do sub up. It is free for you guys, and that like button does push us out on the old algorithm for people looking for hot content. We will be back next week at the regular scheduled time, I think, is where we'll probably set out because we got no holidays kicking in. And we've had to kind of adjust these due to New Year's and Christmas recently, but we'll be back on the Thursday next week. Hopefully not previewing a game. Hopefully, just talking about all the daydreaming we're doing of Super Bowl victories in the near future and who we want to be facing in the next round and all of that good stuff. But thank you, Brendan, for doing this. As always, I really appreciate you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I couldn't be at my normal setup. Big technical difficulties today. I should be back there for the show next week.
We'll get him back right next week on that. Thank you for bearing with us on that, folks. Really appreciate y'all watching. We'll be back in a week. Find out what goes on with this game. But until then, please don't you ever forget. Shouldn't have to remind you, but I'm going to let you know anyway. Lock in and don't you ever forget. Go Hawks.
Go